It really doesn't make sense. I've been traveling for a long time, ever since I was in the military. I know a lot of people, they've been traveling like way before this YouTube shit. So now it's just that there's YouTube, more people online, and they're sharing their experience. And that's all it is. Some people travel just for the culture and things of that nature. And they also enjoy women. If you're a heterosexual man, like the other brother just said, you're going to love women. There's women around. You're not going to ignore the women. Like, I mean, it's point blank, period. I think people are just shaming people because we're doing what they cannot do. Because really and truly, even I myself as a traveler, just to muster the strength to gather your stuff and plan traveling and things like that, it's not everybody that can do it. Let them on the go live over there, like I'm planning on doing. So y'all can just keep on hating. I appreciate you. Got coding thoughts, Margo?
Yeah, man. Like, look.
Make sure you come up, Smurgo.
Niggas wanna.
Hey man, make sure you come up on the show, bro.
I'm gonna come over on your shit. But here's the thing, look. If Passport Bros as a group is about that tricking shit, like here's the thing. If I have a group and there's niggas that's on like the sex mongering shit and I'm not about that, them niggas can't sit with me, or I'm just not gonna associate myself with that group. That's the way I look at it. It ain't about dick policing, but like as a group, you don't want to associate yourself with niggas that's on some bullshit. Because it muddies up your intentions of what your intentions are. That's the point. That's what's trying to be clarified. That's okay. Well, all right. But if you cool with standing beside the niggas that sex monger and this shit, like that's like it's like you got a nigga in your friend group that folks are like kids at high school and shit, and then you like, oh yeah, but that's still my nigga though. No, that ain't cool. You gotta disassociate yourself with motherfuckers like that. It's the same shit, but. All right, so who wanna go next? Azriel, go ahead. Okay, my bad. Go ahead, man. Tomorrow. Go ahead. Appreciate you coming through, man.
No problem.
Definitely.
I didn't know it was gonna be that late.
I told you beforehand. You know what I'm saying? But so the link to the after show is in the chat. It said tomorrow Afterstream in the chat. If y'all want to head over there. Go ahead, man. You got to close us before we get out of here.
All right. So here's the thing, man. Once you have individual results, you can stop worrying about trolling all the stuff on the chat. The only thing they can do is troll from afar and say a whole bunch of things that they can't say to people in person. Once you have individual results, you really don't have to worry about what people think and say. You have to understand this. Like, there's a reason why they want you to stay here. They actually think that having a relationship with a woman should involve consequences. That's what they invested in. Woman relationship with consequences. Once you have a relationship on a culture dynamic to where you don't have to worry about those things, those people are going to be mad at that. Really mad at that. Because they invested into a system to where they would rather have the consequences associated with the sexual dynamics rather than having an individual outcome. And that's what it is. Like I said, there are different type of Muslims, there are different type of Christians, there are different type of Buddhists. No one person owns the franchise on any of that stuff. So try to hold any one individual to the actions taken of that person within that group, I think it's pretty crazy. It's never been done and it never will be done. I don't even know how to, like, I actually think about it through their eyes. I don't know what it would be like to try to drag competitors back to a circle to which I'm competing at. If people have left the actual place to where I'm actually at, it gave me more access to what I claimed that I wanted. What would there be a complaint about? Unless you know it's not a good situation and you just want people to be in that situation with you. That's the only thing that I can actually think of, because we don't make people speak perfect English when it comes to mumble rap or anything else, but they want us to speak all these foreign languages just to be somewhere else. That's crazy. I think people have freedom of association. Like, that's the right that I have. And as long as you follow the local laws and rules where you are at and where you go, you're fine. Like, that's what a natural citizen is. If you look at people's DNA, nobody's DNA is pure, period. And expecting people to be within a certain set circumstance so that way you can feel happier with your own lot in life is also crazy. So at the end of the day, man, we're winning. We're up. Remember, we're not down in the cards. These people just came over into the Passport Bros and Sysbm because they ran out of content. There is no more content to be made about these local women except for pointing out the fact that these dudes have no power over them. I know that. I'm smart enough not to play this game. And there is no shame for me to admit that I know the worst looking women in this society has a hell of a lot more power than the best looking man in the society. We now have a society where that's the case. There's nothing wrong with seeking higher ground or seeking out different people who ain't got this type of cultural setup or run up for 30 something years. You can go to people who don't have that. Are there going to be people who abuse it? Of course. You're going to have people who abuse everything. But is it what I'm going to be abusing? No. I want to do the best thing with the chances and choices that I have. And I hope everyone out there, I don't give a damn who you are. If you can't find the best shit of where you at, leave. I could not find the best life I possibly could in Mississippi. That's why I left. Graduation night to the Air Force. Took me to some other places that I didn't want to be at, but guess what? I tried something different. And I got an outcome that I can live with. You need to find something that you can live with at the end of the day. I'm not trying to put restraints or safeguards on anybody. Every single person deserves the happiness that I exhibit within my life. I don't give a damn whether you date white man, black man, purple man. I don't give a damn, or whatever, women included. I don't give a damn about none of that. The outcomes matter more than the intentions and the control. I want to thank you for having me on, dude. Shout out to you. Big ups to the channel. You guys have a really nice day. Just come over to the channel so that way we can have a conversation about something in a very descriptive format without this trolling and nonsense. Thank you so much for having me on, Ramil. Man, I greatly appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much. You have a nice one.
No problem. No problem. All right, salute the man from the building. The link is for the Afterstream down there. Y'all go slide over there. So on your way out, hit the like, all that good shit, and yeah. So y'all go over to MOC's channel and down in Discord. You be in there. Put that Discord link down there. Go cracking. Go get up out of here today, man. Really do appreciate y'all. Y'all niggas be wildin', for real. Niggas be wildin'. Let me put this thing down for the Discord.
Okay. Ramil show is over. Well, thank you guys for coming through. Make sure y'all like the video before y'all come on in. Because we need, like, the greater problem that we have here is that there's no real dialogue between two groups of people who claim that they have a problem with each other. I think that that's something that just doesn't need to happen. Let me go to this. Black Curls. Thanks for coming through. Liam J. The JR. JC the Conqueror. That was funny as shit when you said I look like a grizzly bear in a goddamn suit. I don't know where the hell that came from, but Cooper, what's going on, man? Andre Junior 316, thanks for coming through. QP Passport Flexing. Terrell Clark, thanks for coming through. LOM, thanks for coming through. Azrael the Daywalker. Bro, you had him in a vice, man. Bro, you gotta let little people talk, man. Let's eat. Thanks for coming through. Smurgo, thanks for coming through. Gone Poster, thanks for coming through. Make sure y'all like the video before I get started. SNN. Go Professor, thanks for coming through. Joey, 85SS. I think I haven't seen you here before, but thanks for coming through. Spec Streaming. Don't see nothing you seen you here before. Thanks for coming through. Smurgo. Stefan, Educated Lane, Tyrone. You need to do more commentary with your videos. I watch your content, and you do not say anything for the most part in your content. You need to start doing that. Number 16, what's going on? Anthony Fudnut. Man, I haven't seen you in a while. Thanks for coming through. Dazzling the Urbanite. Mr. G's World. Thanks for coming through. Root SK. Panther God. Passport Sister. Atonement. Thanks for coming through. Thanks for posting my link to get everybody here. Jerome H. I think we're at the bottom. There we go. Just gas. Thanks for coming through. All right. A truism. I haven't seen you in a while either. What's going on? Okay. You have to understand the reason why. It's very simple. It's an option of choice. What's going on, Yori? What's going on, Amanda Fletcher? You have to understand that it's very clear that we are winning. And the only reason why you won is because you didn't play the previous game. What's going on, McNaker? Come on, man. Kind of name. You have to understand that you won by not playing. I went over what I was actually doing and the reason why I did it. And there is no person who can disagree with why I did what I did. Now, I was raised as a fundamentalist Christian. Did I see other people who was raised in different ways under the same Christian faith who had far different outcomes that was not under the brutal dictatorship that my grandfather was under? Obviously. This is why my grandfather focused us. Scott Free was going on. This is the growth. What's going on? That's why my grandfather told me about the outcome before I got started. The outcome before I got started. Not only did we have outcomes, there were people within our family that they pointed us to, that they invited over to have them tell their story to us about how they messed up their entire lives, thinking that they had this situation under control. You also had people who traveled. There were uncles of mine who was in the Vietnam War, and you seen how their women acted. Like me, I just, you from a dude from a small ass town. So I'm like, where the hell did they find all these multicultural colored women at? And it was obvious that the women who didn't look like the women that I was raised around acted very different than the women that I was raised with. It was very different. And it wasn't different because it was a phenotypical problem. It was different because it was a cultural issue. It was a cultural issue. You have to understand that I don't blame women for having the level of disrespect that they have toward men in this type of society. If regardless of how you look, if regardless of what you produce, if regardless of what your track record is, if you have 1,000 thirsty ass dudes coming to you trying to just get one specific thing out of you, you're going to have less respect for that over time. You actually are. And it was the same for men. Like I didn't experience the additive inverse or even the opposite of this until I went to Germany. When I went to Germany, akin to what women have here in choice, thanks to the circumstance, men had choice over there because of legalized prostitution. While this is not about prostitution, I think the dynamics are clearly the same. Over there, people had infinite access to sex to the point to where the women had to either close on a man very early or risk being on the marketplace forever. That is what has happened over there. So you have to understand that I understand the predicament that the women are in here. Because me, I want to understand the actual situation more than I want to complain about it. But see, I want to understand the issue and avoid problems rather than try to understand the issue and try to feed myself into it. Like, that's where the corruption of the red pill came from. A lot of people came to the red pill to solve their sexual access issues. That was not what this was about. This was about increasing your understanding about the actual outcomes of the things that were happening here within the environment and how to navigate past those things or even navigate to the particular individuals that were even better than the bottom feeders of society within the environment. That's what the truth was supposed to lead you to. However, individuals took the truth and they perverted what the truth meant. They took the truth of the actual consequences that was going on within the environment, and then they tried to socialize other men into thinking that they've solved a particular issue inside the environment itself. Game changer, what's going on, man? TJ Hunter, 499 Super Chat, follow from Ramil. I think the youngsters are learning and improving and getting what they want out of life. Oh, the red light district was crazy. Oh, yes, it was. I used to get paid a lot of money to drive from Ramstein Air Force Base to Rhine-Main to take people down there. Trust me, because none of those people had licenses, and you know how hard it is to pass that test for the German driver's license. Luckily, I was a smart dude, and I was able to pass it. But yeah, that's what it was. So what you guys have got to understand is this. Passport Bros or Sysbm is not divesting. It's clearly not divesting. Divesting is you had infinite access to choice. You had infinite access to what you wanted within this specific environment. You don't even have to look good to have access to men or access to a productive guy. And you turned your ass around and rejected all of that. Even though the situation was set up specifically for you to win, that's a divester. Sysbm and Passport Bros is we see exactly what these people have investing in the past. We want a different cultural outcome. So what we're going to do is we're just going to move to a place where people haven't had as much freedom and as much attention that has really ruined their actual output on life. Period. Think of it like an adoption agency. You go to an adoption agency and they put you through all these rigorous tests to see if you are a good fit for a family. And you have a choice of two individuals to deal with. You can deal with an individual whose mother and father come from a life of crime. You can deal with the kids of such who are doing bad in school and XYZ. Or you can deal with an actual other child that's been raised in a proper environment. They just happen to lose their parents in a very messed up situation. There would be nothing to do but just put the person under the proper type of leadership, and they could be on a different prosperous path. Which type of person would you want to deal with? It's very obvious what person you would want to deal with. You would want to deal with the people with less problems, who deal with things in a lesser environment to where they was exposed to things that they can't be unexposed to. Hold on a second. Say it again, dude. They just realized it now because they've invested all of their time, Marco, into thinking that that was the only option. The only option was to wait for their turn. But the option was for you to take your damn turn. That's what this was about. It was about taking control of your own life. I'm talking about the productivity piece. Because my Sysbm and my Passport Bros, the type of group that I'm a part of and the people that I associate with, has the productivity piece first. We're not about saving the community because the community is your household. The community isn't everyone outside the household who could benefit from your labor. I have to go into explaining the actual tenets and what they mean to me. When we say that we're not here for to save the community, we're not here for saving the current system that is there. A lot of people want to put people in the trick section, but I think that you are the ultimate trick if you stayed. You are the ultimate trick if you stayed. You're the ultimate trick if you made deals. You are the ultimate trick if you didn't want anything better than what you've actually seen on a day-to-day basis. You don't need to play this game. This is an outcome-based system. This is a cultural system and an outcome-based system. Anybody can walk up here and claim that they are a part of a group or another. People know the difference between the Westboro Baptist Church during the Bush administration and actual regular Christians outside of that group. They knew what those people stood for, and they know what everybody else stands for. It's no different than anything else. We don't need better marketing. We need better practitioners. Just like my grandfather said, we don't need better Christians. Better Christians isn't going to show up. Better Christians are going to be better practitioners of the actual faith itself. It doesn't matter whether you believe in all the scriptures or whether you believe. Yeah, but the better practicers of the actual faith are going to be the actual best individuals, or who are going to be the people who be the standard bearer of your group. Anyone can find and nitpick anything about any group. I can make a channel tomorrow pointing out every single time a person tries to jump into a situation to try to save a female from guaranteed consequences, like the first video we watched on amyr show. I told you about how the law enforcement system works, and I guarantee you a lot of you didn't even know you could just sign a ticket and get up out of there. But all of these things went wrong, and this person started crying like you wouldn't believe, because she didn't want to sign the ticket. She wanted to mete out justice on the side of the road. You don't mete out justice on the side of the road with law enforcement. You're going to lose that battle 100% of the time. So you have to understand that when you are moving to a different system, and many of these individuals have invested into a bad system that they know is bad, that they're not going to tell you is bad, they're going to try to hold on to the glory of the fact that they did everything right. There are people here within this space, and also people at home, who thought that my real name, let's just use MOT. MOT, you would never have experienced the level of success that you have experienced if you just would have stayed in Mississippi. What kind of nonsense is that? Was I supposed to stay in the worst type of circumstances, the worst type of situation, under the worst type of leadership, under non-progressing men, under a situation where most of the women was doing all of the work and still are to this day? I was supposed to stay in that situation. Why? Because that's the place where God put you. And you acted outside of God's plan by moving your ass to another place and have a better outcome and better results and better interactions, and learn how the actual system works, and learning how the difference between situation with actual infrastructure and place without infrastructure, and how all these things are learnable by the individual, not the group. Judge Webb, thanks for joining our super chat. All this stuff is based on individual choice, and your outcomes matter than your actual intention. Mac Ultra, thanks for the 49 super chat. Dudes flying chicks out here or driving 4 hours for some runs here. They are. They are doing worse than that, actually, Mac Ultra. There are dudes who are subscribed to OnlyFans channels who's dropping bans on women's channel and all this kind of stuff, tuned in to people that they don't want to be with, but they have the nerve to talk about the Passport Bros and Sysbm. I think that's crazy. So what you have to understand is the complainers are talking to people who are winning. They're trying to get us to jump into the mud pit and roll around with them. I came in hot off the scene 6 years ago, 5 years ago at this point, talking about, because I already have money. That's the problem. I already have money before I came here. I didn't need to get my shit together off the behest of stalling or stagnating the entire group that I'm a part of. That was never part of my plan. My plan was give people the information to get their ass up here where I'm at. That was my plan. Mr. G's World, thank you for the $5 super chat. On my way to Uzbekistan, spent almost a week in Germany. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. No excuses. This is why I will always be a representative for what's positive within this space for people. And I'm not trying to hold anybody to any type of circumstances within this space. I never jumped upon. Listen, I want these people to get the message out there about choice. That's what's most important here. Choice is what's most important here. Track record is what's most important here. And if you don't have the level of discipline to put within yourself to get your resources together, because I'm going to tell you, these women here need a lot of help, a lot of work, and I'm not sure 6 figures is going to help most of these people that you gain recent access to. I just don't understand that they're going to have that. I don't think 6 figures is going to be enough for a couple of kids and somebody who's been psychologically deranged and believe in things and they hate the actual person that they need access to right now. I don't think that any of that stuff's going to work. Like I said, I've been very honest about my failures, and the failures have been a lot. But those failures was my fault, not the environment. The environment failed, yes, but I would be just as much of a failure if the only thing that I wanted to do was feed myself into a bad system that I have never seen anybody win at. I would be a damn fool to do that. And then after I failed, I would have to come here and explain to other people why I failed, even though they failed too. This is why you have to understand within a social media environment. What's going on, point? That's your heel turn. You have to realize there's going to be a lot of people who's going to take advantage of a brand, who's going to take it in a direction that they don't need to go. And they're going to try to claim exclusivity over it. Think about these terrorist attacks that happened after 9/11. How everybody did some stupid ass shit on the behalf of Al Qaeda. These dudes never even had no access to Al Qaeda, but they did it in Al Qaeda's name. You know what happened? Al Qaeda took the actual advantage of the fact that somebody's working on their behalf. Do we want to be Al Qaeda? Do we really want to answer for everybody's individual dumbass action whenever they travel overseas, everywhere that they go? That would be nuts. I don't have time for that. I have time for me, and I have time for you, and I have time for people who want to listen, and I have time for people who want to change. What I do not have time for is individuals who want to have this happy medium between acting like they're going while they're ultimately staying. Like I said, we're here for a cultural output and outcome. Most of these people within this environment here do the same exact thing they claim Passportbros or Sysbm is doing overseas. These dudes make no bones about bragging in the past, how much ass they had, how much women they've been through, all this kind of stuff. They don't lie about it. Well, maybe they are lying about it, but the claims are on one side. The men are making the claims on the women, but the women are not making the claims on the men. That's why I think every attempt to boost this domestic environment that is based on restrictive choice is a detriment to men who actually want to have better outcomes. I want men to have better outcomes. That's why I'm here, the outcome. Because everybody can talk about the intentions, but nobody can talk about the outcome. The outcomes. You see it on panels. People jump on panels, can't even talk one at a time. They can't do any of that shit. They yell and scream over each other. But when you go into a cultured environment, shit is far simpler once you got the productivity piece in order. Because if you don't got the productivity piece in order, you know what you're going to get in other environments? You're going to get the worst of the worst in those other environments. And yes, the worst of the worst in other environments are going to be better than they are here. I also think whether you stay or whether you go, the best of the worst options are still bad options, no matter what. If you're trying to have a certain color of a child without understanding the actual track record and the history of those people who you're trying to deal with, you're doing yourself a disservice. Remember Martin Luther King's dream that content of character was supposed to take you further? This is where we are now. We are at the point to where we get to choose what we want to deal with. And I don't want people to actually think that they have to deal with one person over another. But at some point, you have to look at the results and be like, you know what? I have to, in order to preserve who I am as a person, I have to do that. You guys have got to really understand that we have an inverted pyramid going on. Marco Grande, thanks for the, not sure what that is. So many people finally decided to actually put the results and the claims together. Those who were claiming the most showed no results whatsoever. Better late than, yeah. Now it makes a whole bunch of sense where you can fly to better results now. I did what I did for a cultural reason. As you know, I'm a military veteran. Guess who was also a military veteran? Terry Nichols and the guy who did the Oklahoma City bombing. Are we supposed to judge every military veteran through Timothy McVeigh's and Terry Nichols' actions, even though they was in the Army? No. You can draw clear distinctions based on the actions that they took and the outcomes of their results. You're supposed to be able to have this level of reasoning where you can rationally look at these things from one way or another. That's why we as higher mammals are able to discern these type of things, where lower animals and creatures don't even operate on that level. D1, oh, just thank for the $100 MX. Excellent job this morning. Salute. Yeah, I tried, man. Before the people ran in. But you have to realize that I want to have dialogue with people that go somewhere. Because men are supposed to sit down, like my grandfather told me, men are supposed to sit down, discuss their agreements / disagreements. Actively say in front of each other what actions that you're going to take to make sure that you're not going to have these type of outcomes, and then proceed for said outcome. As they should. As they should. Congratulations to them. What's going on, real? So that's what I'm saying. That is my opening salvo for this conversation. We have 260 people in here. I want you guys to be able to like the video before people come up. When I put the link in the chat, you start on that trolling and all that bullshit, I'm just going to drop you down. We're trying to have a substantive conversation because you have to understand that is what is lacking within the manosphere. A substantive-based conversation. Then actions afterwards. Then we compare our after actions report on what we did, how did it work, and the outcomes of it. That's not a problem. You know me, I don't fuck with helmets and all that kind of shit. I'm going to try to have a decent conversation about this specific issue. Because I think most of the people who are trying to get people to stay are only doing so because they can't leave or they don't have any identity anywhere else. Because, yeah, when you go to a lot of these places, your character come into play. The things that you accomplish come into play. When a father is involved with his mother, it's going to matter what you produce. Because you realize once a father is in, he put all his time into this daughter, he's not about to let his daughter go to the wayside, some crazy crackpot dude. Nobody does that. So what we're going to do, we're not going to have a complaint session. Because like I said, this war was won before it even began. There is a business model that these people have invested in that's bad. A bad business model that you were never going to be able to get past. If you were a woman and you came online showing your face, talking to men that you don't want to be with about how to be with you, you lost. You has accelerated the passport movement. You have accelerated the what other options are there. You have accelerated what is the path to least resistance? What is the path to get to a person who haven't had all of this experience before them? Where do I go find me a person like this? You've done that. So on. You have to understand that. Even if I personally think if Kevin Samuels had lived long enough, he was eventually going to have to do the same thing that these people are doing right now with the Passport Bros, and that's why SBM. Even though he wasn't dating these people wholesale, it doesn't look like it. I really think that he would have had to have done this at some point. He was going to have to have made these people who stayed feel better about themselves. And the best way to do that is to throw another group of men under the bus, try to make another group of men seem like they're not good enough to go volunteer for these consequences. But you have to realize that most of this stuff has, it's been a foregone conclusion before you even got started. The correct answer needs to be presented one time. The correct answer needs to be presented one time, not 101 live streams, talking to the same unchanged people while they get more and more access to what they want because of the production model. You have to understand the production model. The choice that the women made to have kids with are the actual children that they're trying to push into the arm of these game dudes with a quick solution. Now, I have had the fortunate issue of seeing throughout my life, I have seen the most gynocratically raised men given a feminine cultured. That is where we are. That's where we are. You can't tell me on a one-to-one basis where game works. Everybody who has game is still practicing even more game to keep what they got, and even more game to keep what they got after that, and be escorted back into the system for even more game after that. And then there's even more game to not even complain about the game that you used before. It's a never ending system, it's a never ending process. You're never going to be able to out choose the ugliest woman within society who has infinite access to men. It doesn't matter how you look. And it doesn't matter how many cucking stool shows that you call into, whether it's the Pineapple Show, whether it's the Melanie King, whether it's the listening to these dating coaches feed you a whole bunch of nonsense, therefore feeding you back to the same type of women that they claim that they're ahead. It doesn't matter. It's still the cucking stool. You walk up there with no power, trying to gain power from people who ain't trying to give it up. Yes, I do agree, D1. Trying to guilt, control, and shame brothers from expanding their options is a form of socialism. Most blacks are repulsed by free market. Actually, it's more of communism, sexual communism. I forgot who came up with that term. It is not mine. I think it was Hardcore Tito, but I could be wrong. Shout out to him. But I do think sexual communism was the term that was used that made the most sense. And most of it was the Bolshevik Revolution in the Soviet Union is what these people want. You need to understand the Bolshevik Revolution. Because during the Bolshevik Revolution in what was called the Soviet Union at the time, you had people who didn't know anything about a system or society bum rush the government. They deposed the government, but they had no plan once they had power. Everybody starved. They jailed most of the people who had skills and abilities, and they left a whole bunch of dumbasses in charge. And they eventually got ran out of power because they didn't know how to run anything. It's going to go. So I'm about to drop the link in the chat. We're going to have a decent discussion back and forth about this issue. And this is a very simple issue of choice. So we're going to talk about answers and solutions because my solution is greater access to choice. I don't think staying is the actual solution. I think increasing the actual person's choice is what you actually need here. Because if the women can have infinite choice and they not be criticized about it, why should men not have infinite choice? Because remember, they changed the channel from the makeup of the family with cultured, productive man, an actual feminine woman, to undesirable woman and undesirable man, creating kids that neither one of these people wanted to raise. That is what we are actually surrounded by. We're surrounded by the kids of unnatural selection. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. It's not that hard. It's not that difficult. So what you have to do is, how do people talk about tricks when we have OnlyFans and tit streamers and all type of things happening within the environment, but somehow a dude going somewhere else doing the same thing that men do here domestically is bad. I don't understand it. I don't aim to understand it. But the criticism that is levied against our group of people has got to stop. If you're trying to, oh, but what about your marketing? Dude, listen. If you are not part of a group that you're a part of that has standards yourself, you can't point out the standards of another group. Like, there's a difference between the Fruit of Islam and Wahhabist Islam of Saudi Arabia, which is different from the Islam that actual Muhammad Ali was a part of when he was still alive, which is different from Islam where you actually go to Mecca on the pilgrimage to Mecca. You have to understand that no matter what group that you are a part of, there is different things that is actually interpreted in different ways, and the free association to do as one pleases without lessening or putting anybody else in danger is what is actually the goal here. That is the point of freedom. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat, see what comes up, so that way we can have a decent conversation. You start being on that matriarchal over talking bullshit, I'm going to get you the fuck up out of here because I have no tolerance for that type of goofy shit. It's not my fault that you was raised around unfathered individuals that you just think that getting your point out and trolling is more important than having a goddamn discussion, so that way we can be able to move to an actual result and make some type of sense. Judge Zilla the Beast, what is going on, my friend?
Hey, man, how's it going?
Yeah, trying to have a reasonable dialogue and conversation. See where this goes.
Am I coming through clear here?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, so I guess I'll start off this way real quick while everybody's loading in here.
All right.
Now, if one, we'll use myself, were to, I am in Phoenix. Phoenix is roughly 3% African American. So of that, roughly, right, 1.5, 1.4% of the population is or 1.6 rather, percent of the population is going to be female, right?
Yeah.
If I were to decide to move to Chicago, to move to Atlanta, to move to Philadelphia, the DMV, Houston, Mississippi, Louisiana, because those would improve my odds at finding a black wife, nobody would seem to have a problem with that.
Not at all, especially not down south, South Carolina.
Abstractly as well, right? Abstractly as well, if I, living in Phoenix, Arizona, which is not one of the cheapest states to live in,
oh no,
not the most expensive, but not the cheapest. If I were to decide to move to, Oklahoma, again, Mississippi, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, because my dollar would stretch farther and I would be able to do more with that dollar in those areas than I can with it in Phoenix. Nobody, again, would seem to have a problem with that. But there's a problem if that plane crosses a certain latitude and longitude that is not representative of this contiguous or United States, apparently. I don't understand how that's an issue. That's what doesn't make sense to me. If nobody would argue with me if I chose to go to Freaknik,
yeah,
to get women, and potentially, and even if my intention was to pay for said women, but this is where I'm saying. So given any other piece of any other thing, right? Or if I chose to do it in Vegas, or if I chose to do it in any of those other cities. So the only conclusion that I could come to this way is that this is all just an extension of dick policing.
It is. That's all it is. I mean, because if people had that level of concern here today, you know, we would just be having like licenses with people having stamped on it whether or not they had STDs and justified people not being here and actually deleting people's social media profile whenever they had too many inboxes for some type of guy or something like that. We were like, look, you reach your daily maximum level of attention from men. We're going to stop that. No, we're not stopping any of that. The only thing we want to do is to have men climb this mountain in this environment when they could just go to another environment.
How many of these men would stop me from going to Louisiana, Chicago, Kansas City because it was dangerous?
None. They probably join you. They probably join you for a road trip.
Well, I'll say, let me get to the super chat real quick, and then I'm gonna go to Smergo first. He had another part of his question he wanted to ask. Mid-Child Universe, thanks for the fellas. How's it going? Thanks for the follow super chat. All right, Smergo, go ahead with your disagreement and your question. If you want to rephrase your question or rephrase the conversation that we was having before, now's the time to do so.
All right, am I coming through clearly?
You are, to me. I don't care about anybody else, but you're coming by.
Right. Yeah. So the first part of my question was already answered. Like personally, you have no issues sitting at the same table as sex mongers and tricks. That's okay. All right, now
wait, hold on.
Damn.
Hold on. Before you go forward, do you think we have sex mongers and tricks here?
Yeah, and they can't sit with me.
Okay, so how do you tell who's a sex monger and who's a trick and who isn't?
You just know.
Can you please define what's a sex monger, please? Can we do that too?
Like, how would I identify one?
Yes, please.
Well, dude that pay for pussy is gonna let you know that he paid for pussy. They just do.
Okay. Let's stop right here.
And that's and that's what's going on
Smergo,
YouTube. Dudes that pay for pussy will let you know they pay for pussy.
Smergo, let's stop right here. Do you understand that every man in society pays for access to sex with their productivity, their body type, the clothes that they wear, the car that they drive? Everybody is paying for access to sex. Even if they think it's free, it's still a byproduct of all the things that they've accomplished in life. Do you agree or do you disagree with that statement?
So you're just saying everything is tricking?
Yes.
Okay. But here's the second part of my question.
No, hold on.
I agree with you. I want to move on from that because the first part of my question was already answered.
You're not going to move on from it. You're gonna stay on the topic until we move on to something else. Do you not acknowledge that everything that you do in life is going to be eventually for the attraction of somebody who want to take value in that and want to be part of your program? Yes or no?
I agree, but for different reasons, right?
Agree.
So,
we agree on it.
May I get some clarity from you, man, of tomorrow?
No, wait, hold on a second. It's not your turn, sir. So, Smergo, so we do agree that what you perceive as tricking is something that all
people are.
Smergo, hold on a second.
Okay.
You understand that, to me, tricking even goes beyond the actual monetary thing. I think the worst part of tricking in the United States is actually monkey dancing for women when women are not even present. Like trying to tell people what height you are and all this type of shit. Like it matters to another man. It's like, I think that's tricky. Like anything that puts the focus and the onus on people here domestically, I consider tricky. Because remember, actually domestic tricking is actually quite different because you don't get the ass at the end of the day, where tricking everywhere else, you do get the ass at the end of the day. So I don't understand why tricking is a bad thing, because we have this horrific culture that's based on pimps having some sort of upper echelon above working class people, but people hate the people who pay the pimp and people who deal with the women of the pimp. So I don't understand where this tricking hatred comes from. If anything else, you should hate the women for giving up their bodies for a monetary value. How do you put the onus on men when it's been artificially done the wrong way?
They can't
What
question
is
the that's what it is. More or
what
less
is what this goes into my second question. Is
Hold on a second, Smurgo, before you answer. Marty McFly, I don't know who you are. I've never seen you, and in nobody's chat. I can't bring you up.
I was gonna say this. I could vouch for him. He's on the Edwards panel. He was on Edwards panel yesterday. He's a traveling bro. He's actually going to Colombia.
yeah, he's cool. Yeah, he's cool.
Okay. You're lucky. But go ahead, Smurgo. And then we're going to make the real estate next.
Yeah, so the second part of my question was, isn't prostitution a symptom of a sick environment?
I don't care about prostitution. It's either legal or illegal, wherever it is. It doesn't factor into any type of thing of what I'm doing. I don't even care about whether it's legal or illegal. I don't care. I don't sleep with prostitutes.
Okay, well that's what I'm saying then, right? So like you're changing out one environment for another, and you're going.
Yes, we are. Wait, hold on. We are changing out one environment for another for a very specific reason. Do you think this is the perfect environment to date people and raise kids with here within the environment? You can, on average, run into a person on average within this environment. Run into somebody who you can actually have kids with and have a decent outcome with, given everything that happened. Do you think that's something that feels happen? Okay, I disagree. And the actual onus is on you to actually prove that that's the case.
Because in this environment, you have women that aren't necessarily destitute, right? You have women that have their own money. You know, you can create a better family with a woman that's equally on your level rather than saving a hoe. You don't have to save a hoe.
See, this can I refute his point? And this
is
what kills
No. So what you're saying is that you think that passport bros are going to another place where women are destitute for the most part over a cultural output for the most part. That's your opinion?
Yes.
Okay, that is incorrect. That is not why I did what I'm doing, but it's incorrect.
That's why. Well, that was my first question. But could you associate you guys with that? Will you associate yourself with guys that are doing that?
No, I mean, bro, you have more people who do this here. Like, what do you think rap music is about for the most part? What do you think Cardi B's music is about for the most part?
Tricking.
That's a bad in comparison, because when you talk about rappers and celebrities, they're millionaires. They're gonna be more rich than like the majority of people in general. But what the average person in America gets with the average person on their similar level.
Okay, so you're saying that their music is not about tricking and throwing money in the air and wasting money on women that you don't even know and all this kind of shit. So you're just gonna say that rap music is not about that?
The average man isn't doing that.
But is the music and the culture about that? Is that what's celebrated over working hard as a vision event?
I wouldn't say it's celebrated. I say it creates a fantasy that people aspire to. Some guys, I guess. But like it's a false equivalence, because we're talking about average people.
It's not a false equivalency. We're talking about what actually happens in the environment, what the actual outcomes are. Do you think that kids reading at a
that doesn't happen in the average environment? You have certain dudes that do that.
Okay. I disagree with all that. And if you have actual data and statistics that actually prove your actual point, I urge you to bring those up to me.
You have data and statistics on dudes that throw money in the air?
This is what the culture is about. This is what the music is about.
You mean like Magic City?
Have you ever been to the strip club, sir?
That's what I'm about to say. Or like Ace of Spades?
No, it's cool. You know, we're going to go on to the next guy. We're going to come back to Smurgo. Mr. Real Estate, what's going on? You start over talking, I'm just going to kick you off the fucking panel. So what kind of question do you have for me?
Oh, yeah, I wanted to ask you to more clearly define tricking. I know you were saying that basically everything's tricking in one way or another. And then you also made the statement earlier that, you know, if you're looking at the worst, you want the best of the worst. And I think we would all assume that tricking isn't preferable. So what would you say is the best type of tricking, and what's the worst type of tricking?
I'm not a trick, so I don't know what you're talking about. All right. So Azrael, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I wanted to refute what Smirgo had said.
Go ahead, sir.
As a person, and the funny thing is, I'm not ADOS, right? But I'm really irritated when I hear people. And the funny thing is, I know not everyone in the space is ADOS as well. So it kind of irks me when you hear people say that other people from other countries are just dirty foot people that are in huts. And it's like, we would never tolerate that if it was a white man just came into the panel and be like, oh, you guys are a bunch of nothing but a bunch of dirty foots looking to scrabble up some resources and whatnot. We had dudes like Andre and Andreas, who lives in Colombia. He's been married to his wife, and she's like, there's the age gap of, I believe, 10 to 15 years. She's a beautiful Colombian woman.
No, it's 20. It's 20 ish.
Sir, it's not your time to talk.
Yeah, I believe it's
time to talk unopposed. And whenever we have a counter argument, how we do things on this channel is that you're going to say that you have a counter argument to his point, and then we're going to go after. You're going to be able to state your case after that. All right.
Oh, so I should have told you that I had a counter response to what you said to me?
Yeah, after I got you talking, that's how people normally do things.
Okay, you were pretty quick to moving on to the next one, so I didn't know. Thanks for the clarification.
I'm almost done. But I appreciate what Mr. G was saying. I believe it's about 27 years. And the fact that she's a corporate accountant. Smirgo his premise is that you can find someone that's equally yoked here. Meanwhile, didn't we just watch 2 years of Kevin Samuel's show of women saying they do not want to be equally yoked with men on their level, if not below their level, right? So you had women that had 2 kids with chest tattoos talking and overweight saying, why do I have to settle for the average man? And here Smirgo is saying that you can find someone that's evenly yoked. These women do not want to be evenly yoked with you. They've made it mentioned several times, time into memoriam, that they do not want to. Not only do they not want an average man, you have videos of women saying they don't want a 9-to-5 man. You have videos of black women saying 100K is not enough. So this whole concept.
Wait, hold on, Ezreal. Most of your points are fine. We don't talk to or address or even talk about black women on the show. This is not the type of program. But I do get what you're saying. So what we're gonna do, like Smirgo, since you were directly addressed in that from the equally yoked part of this conversation, what do you have to say to the counterpoint of what he said?
What I'm going to say is that when you look at who people usually end up getting with, they get with people on similar income brackets and similar educational backgrounds as their self. So like if you have a dude that's a doctor, he's going to find a woman within his field or a woman that was going to the same college as him. Most people in general, most women are not looking at a woman with any common sense, right? She's not looking at, oh, I want a millionaire and I'm just working at Burger King or some bullshit like that. So you're making like a false equivalence to a situation where you're not even looking at actual relationships. You're looking at a minority of insane individuals, basically. And you're making that the general consensus of most people, and that's just false.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Mr. Real Estate, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. I'm trying to understand the flow of the conversation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like Smirgo came up and he was like, hey, like you guys are kind of affiliated with, tricks and sex mongers.
We're going to get this conversation back on track. If you're not fucking listening to the conversation, then your ass shouldn't be the fuck up here. All right, we're going to go on to Mike. What is this? Millich 36. Go ahead, man. Oh, he's gone too? All right, I guess we're going to go to Public Lightning and Power. What's going on here? Go ahead, man.
Hey, what's up, man? It's tomorrow. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yeah, we can.
How you guys doing today? Everybody good?
Yeah, we're good, man. We're just trying to have a simple conversation, trying to get to a result so that way we can stop this back and forth conversation between one group of people and another. You got some background noise, and maybe that's somebody else squeaking in the background, but go ahead, sir.
That could be me. Well, I just wanted to say, I've been listening to the streams for the last 48 hours or so. Like, I was listening to Thai City stream last night, and I was listening to Ramil's stream this morning. And you definitely brought up some good points, man, tomorrow, especially with the Casanova analogy you used from the past, in which I guess selling game is something that is unique to the individual. Like, just even selling a product is a skill in itself. And having the presentation or like the social proof to go along with it is even better. But that's not something that that can be adopted by just anyone off the street or anyone just learning. It's a caricature, to say the least. And just to pair that along with the other side of the argument, the opposition. And I'm just speaking my opinion on
no, that's fine.
When it comes to passport bros and traveling brothers, I do think that there is some collateral damage that can be associated with that. And I know that the Mr. Real Estate guy is trying to troll and harp on organization.
No, I mean we're not going to talk about people who's not on the panel. I'd like you to address the topic at hand so that we can move the conversation forward, sir.
Okay, so I'm just going to continue at this point. I mean, I think it is relevant. If that's all right,
No, it's not relevant. I mean, for people wanting to troll and not be a part of the conversation, it's not relevant to us getting toward a conclusion, to us being able to move forward as men and stop trying to pause at this point of who put their Johnson where and what woman across what country. No one cares.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think you've come to find out that I definitely agree with that side of the argument. But when it comes down to it, I hear this term equally yoked being thrown around. And I mean, I'm a married man. I'm 31. My wife is 31 as well. We have children together. So I would say that I'm in a currently successful marriage. I don't know what the future holds. But as like just black men in general, all of us are equally yoked. I mean, whether we want to admit to that or not, we are. So if there's a group of guys traveling, or if there's a stigma about guys traveling, or if one guy creates an ass out of himself overseas or abroad, it can definitely have ramifications across the board, or set some sort of precedence for international domains to treat us a certain way. So I know you don't want me to mention like organization or anything of that nature, but I definitely do think like maybe like some soft bylaws could definitely go along with the lifestyle, to say the least.
It's not going to work. Like, okay, Mormons have a lifestyle. Does everybody adhere to that? No. Christians supposed to have a lifestyle and a book and definitely chapters that tell you that. Do they have two different sinks for washing chicken versus actual vegetables? If not, you get stoned to death? No. So if we're not holding anybody else to any type of hardcore standard, I don't think you can hold anyone to any type of standard. I'm like, look, the individual outcomes are going to be the standards that you bring to the table. My individual outcome is I have no experience, nor do I desire it with any uncultured individual. I do not desire any type of people that I have to be around where I have to watch my back around. I do not desire to be around men who can't have conversations like men based on the topic of conversation. I do not desire to be with or around people like that. And I can be able to live my life peacefully away from such individuals as they can do with me. There's nothing wrong with that. I just exercise choice in a far more restricted manner, while people exercise choice in a far more liberal manner. There's nothing wrong with the actual choice component.
May I interject real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. I have nothing to add. I have nothing to say.
I'm with you. I'm with you 100% on what you said. Like when I travel, like that's my goal, right? But then you have a group that you associate with the majority of their goal is not your goal. You get what I'm saying? Where the distinction has to be made. Because then when you get lumped in with those people, that's where these disagreements come. And then you got,
okay, so do you associate yourself with R. Kelly?
Hell no.
Wait, is he not a part of your group as a black man?
But then we get into broad generalizations, right?
If I can interject,
Passport Bros is a specific group.
Well, I think you're misinterpreting my point.
We're going to get this conversation back on track. Smirgo, could you finish your statement, please?
Yeah. I was just saying, Passport Bros is a particular specific group that can be identified, right? And it has like a specific goal, as you said, for black men to explore our options or change their environment to produce better outcomes.
Yes.
Now,
wait, hold on. On that point specifically, these people who are coming in here claiming passport and all that kind of stuff, they are new to the group. They have never been around super chatting anybody's channel. They're not even associated with any of the Facebook groups. Just like any person can claim that they're Christian, they could come up with their own denomination of Christian and take the actual brand of Christian and take it into a definition or actual direction that has nothing to do with what's in the book. So what I'm saying is that you have to allow these individuals to represent themselves and where they're being, regardless of the name that they're actually trying to call themselves. That's what I'm trying to bring the actual action to. I'm sorry if I missed that point up front.
No, you're right. But when they start to wear the moniker, would there be a point where you're like, no, this guy we don't rock with this dude? Because it seems like at this point there's no distinction made like that. Everybody's like, oh, you got a passport, you're traveling overseas, hop on this panel and we can just talk, we can just chop it up.
Did you write can I say something? Hold on a second. Did you write an actual live stream about you're not with R. Kelly?
No.
No. Why didn't you do that? Okay. Why didn't you do that? Like, that's my point. People here are going to individualize and say whatever they want to. It's the actual outcome to which they're talking about. I don't care what attention that people get. I'm here for the actual outcomes that people actually have with what they're talking about. Because most people just jump on the panel and just roll out there, see some shit differently, come back to the United States, start trolling black women with the shit. I see this as a reverse way of just trying to troll black women with the shit. Listen, you want to troll like a fucking boss, troll with fucking results, and don't talk to these motherfuckers at all. That's all I'm saying. That's what I'm on.
Yeah, and I agree with you. That's the same. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Okay, well, but that's all. That's really pretty much my entire point. Like we're probably not gonna see eye to eye on like the distinction part. Listen, but I agree. Like as far as your goals and the outcome centered method and everything, that's cool. But somebody else can. I'll go ahead and hop off unless anybody else had anything they want to address to me, because I know I've been on a lot of stuff. Yeah, okay, you got something to say. Okay.
Yeah, let me say this real quick, MLT. Look, it's very interesting though. People keep throwing this passport bro term out there. Look, I don't know with the people that I know. I'm even in WhatsApp groups with them. A few of the homeboys that I know on YouTube. None of us refer to ourselves as passport bro. I don't know. These are terms that people on the outside of the community, and when I say the community has many segments to it, right? You know, you have people that are more older. You have people that you have veteran pockets of the community. I mean, the community is very diverse. It's not monolithic at all. But amongst the community, all the many different segments of the community I've been in, I don't hear them refer to themselves or us refer to ourselves as like passport bros. These are terms that outsiders put on us. And then now y'all coming with a stipulation. Y'all like, okay, where's your chart? Where's your this? Where's your organizational structure? Where's your headquarters? It is very stupid that we even have to address this.
No, it is. And that's why we're having this dialogue to prove that individuals with their disagreements, they can't face open actual dialogue, so that way we can move on from actually going through these type of things from time to time. So now we got next up King Signal. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, brother? So when it comes to the whole passport conversation, I think that we have to make sure to rope back in the foundation and the guys that put in the work before any of us came here. You got to go back to Charles Tyler. You got to go to Al Green, the movie Frustrated. That generation kind of created a bunch of disciples that came through, 2016 to 2020. And their focus was based on expanding Black men's options, getting the message out there, and rejecting the anti-Black misandry about our sexual choices and our movements. That group that came after Charles Tyler, we're talking about men that were basically a lot of military guys. You had athletes, you had students, you had white-collar workers, and you had a growing population of logistic-based guys. Now, the logistic-based guys, men like yourself that travel across border every day, they were already starting their own little passport thing, but from a blue-collar perspective. But I would make the argument that the majority of Black men that actually were always traveling were white-collar workers or military guys, higher education, higher income than the average Black guy. And I think what's happened over the last 2 years or so, I think you have an influx of lower blue collar workers. And I'm not talking about construction. You got a lot of these guys who are unemployed, or they might be working at Burger King. They have come into something that they really don't respect the history of it. This was always about Black men expanding their options. Passport was just one option. Some brothers will say, hey, I'm not going to be restricted to American women or any specific race woman. I want the maximum possibilities of adventure and enjoying my leisure with the dollars I earn in America. That's the basis.
Correct. And I agree. Like, this is why it's very hard to, I wouldn't say respect, but when you have people who are part of the dating coach market hopping on these panels trying to act like they're down with passports and all this kind of other shit, on some clout chasing shit, I seen it in some fake ass shit. You know, it's like, look, man, you were never around here. You were never up. Like, this is a very old conversation. This is a 5-year-old conversation at this point. You know, it's just like trying to SBE people was probably a 50 or 60-year-old conversation at that point. And it's just that when you have new people come around and they become popular off other people's work and they don't put the time in, like you said, to figure out this was an outcome-based issue. It wasn't about escorting as many people in as humanly possible so that way you can make some money off of it. Like, that wasn't what it was about. So hold on a second before I go to Game Changer. SG Fire 1. Sign languages are strong with the stay-at-home bros. Stay-at-home bros. They know who they are. Passport bros forever. Yes, I'm like, look, and here's the thing. They're arguing on the behalf of the women where the women are not worried about the options that they have. Like I said, when I was in Germany, they freely seen most of the men dating German women. You know what they did? They didn't give a damn about any of that. Why? People were still taking them to the American Eatery and the PX on Ramstein, and they didn't suffer any drop in attention. In fact, they had more people coming after them trying to prove, standing in line, that they still wanted access to these people. So I don't understand what the actual issue is about people having more access to choice, because I would think the people who haven't had access to choice over a period of time, who has an actual track record, should actually be lauded or even be went after when you have people who have definitely misunderstood choice and damaged everything. And we know what the actual outcomes of the children are. So I don't understand why a man's choice is a problem. But you have to understand the power in regaining the first right of refusal. Once you have the first right of refusal, the society stops as a productive man. Once you try to feed yourself into their first right of refusal, you lose all power within the environment, you lose all leverage, and there is no way you're going to be able to get them back to some pretend-ass negotiating table. But go ahead, Game Changer.
So I want to address the topic of equally yoked. It really doesn't apply in modern relationships or any relationships in an effective way, because when you look at how relationships work, you're not just focused in on one aspect of your mate and then seeing if you match that aspect. Even then, it'll be difficult because you're reducing your mating pool to only those who are in, a reasonable range of whatever it is you're looking for, whether it's looks or, income or height even. So when you try to go for the equally yoked thing, I mean, think of it like this. When you look at a person, there's several different things. I mean, do you have to be equally yoked in each of those particular facets in order for the relationship to be equally yoked? That would be very difficult to achieve. But let's just say for a second, you do achieve the whole equally yoked. The person is just as attractive as you are. They make the same amount of money as you. They're equally intelligent and competent as you. They both contribute equally to the household. Let's just say that you're able to achieve that once you meet a mate, you are able to find your exact equal. Then there comes the matter of, do you value these things equally as your mate? So meaning that you may value looks over money. A man may value the looks of a woman over her income. So she probably wouldn't be equal to him as he interprets her value versus how she interprets his value. That's one aspect. And then there's basically a whole lot of things that can go wrong. You both have to be equally yoked and equally valued. And then the third aspect, and this is probably why so many divorced under this equality paradigm, is because people don't stay stagnant. If you meet somebody and you meet an attractive young lady while working at Burger King, and she also works at Burger King. However, over the course of time, both of you get different jobs at different incomes, and one of your looks fade. This is a situation where you started off equally balanced. However, over time, you become less so. So do you get a divorce at that time? This whole equality paradigm is very complicated, and it's not going to work if you try to apply it to modern society.
Can I make a rebuttal to that? Because that was my point.
Yeah, well, go ahead, sir. All
right, so maybe I'm a bit biased because I do come from a situation where both my parents, my mom and my dad, worked and they're married to this day. It was bouts when my mom was unemployed and my dad, took care of the household, and then it was bouts when my dad was unemployed and she took over taking care of the household until he found new employment. And this is just a model that I've seen work, and in my family in general, right? Usually, this is just how I've seen it work in my family personally. If it's like a greater society thing, yeah.
All right, let's stop right there. Given what you've witnessed as a child, do you trust the average woman within society to do exactly what you experience inside your household?
The average woman, no, but well, yeah.
Okay, what percentage of women do you trust to actually do exactly what your parents did within their household?
I'll say, okay, that's a good point, and I'll say I wouldn't trust the most women to do that. However, here's the thing: you're going to I don't want to come off as slanderous, but you're going to a third world country where the women wouldn't have the ability to contribute equally to the household, right?
That's not true. That's not true.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, hold on a second. Who said that? Was that you, Azriel, or was it?
No, that's me, Sigma. I just want to respond to that because when we talk about going back to what Game Changer was saying about equally yoked, first off, we all come from a capitalist environment here. Hypergamy is the rule of law in our sexual marketplace, okay? So this equally yoked thing, we have to say, are we all operating with the same currency? In a sexual marketplace, everyone's currency could be different. One guy might be operating with finances. The other guy might be operating with physical. The other guy might be operating with a lot of charisma and understanding of the feminine personality. So for one guy traveling, he might be looking for a woman who is just very feminine, very beautiful, and fucks his brains out and does what he says. That's equally yoked because she's exchanging her body and her cooperation for whatever he's bringing as an American male. So when we say equally yoked, everyone is not using the same currency. This ain't no one-to-one situation.
But not to interrupt you, but would that produce a successful relationship in the long term, though, right? Because we talk about these 90-day fiancé situations.
Well, that was the relationship back in
that's not the real world.
But hold on, I'll answer. In traditional times,
hold on. Hold on a second. They do 90-day fiancé and all this kind of stuff. That's not how people normally meet, mate, and actually react to each other. You have to understand that's just a TV show. Most of those people are not getting married like that, so we can't use that as an example.
Okay,
but when you
I'm just saying as general okay, I'm using it as a model, right? And that does happen. You take, even in America, you take a woman from a poor situation when her financial situation changes, her tastes are going to change. She's going to want a different. That's why these divorce situations happen, right? When she changes how she looks at the finances.
But that's the environment, though, Smirgo. What we're saying is that you have an open marketplace. See, what you guys want, you want a traditional situation without changing to a traditional environment through the legal system, through the financial system. You got to make a choice. If we're going to have an open market system and now a global open market system, people have options and they can change their mind whenever. So when you're talking about that traditional model that you want, even with the traditional model, even back in our grandfather's days, they were exchanging resources for a woman's feminine access. That was always going on.
You're misrepresenting me. My model isn't traditional. It's an equals. It's more egalitarian.
Hold on. So what you're saying is that you want a woman that's on equal and on par with you, right? And from that point, things are going to work out. Once y'all on equal standpoint, then you get together with a person who is an equal as you, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I respond? Once again, equality doesn't work for the previously mentioned reasons. Things change throughout the relationship as far as looks and a person's income. You even mentioned how in your parents' relationship, there were instances where, one person was without an income and the other person stepped up. I mean, did they seek equality at that point? I mean,
But it goes both ways, right?
That doesn't make sense.
Well, what I'm saying is, yes, one person fell off and then they stepped up to the plate and then supported that person. But if you got somebody that's in a much lower tax bracket than you, you're not going. That's not going to be able to happen. You fall off, and then now what? Now you're just homeless.
No. But at the time, one parent was in a much lower tax bracket than the other. So once again, the egalitarian system failed at that particular point.
Well, what I'm saying is they both equally have the opportunity and skills in order to step up to that thing. You know what I'm saying?
No, because if one is unemployed, then they didn't have the opportunity at that point that they were unemployed.
Yes, at that point. But we're talking about women that never had that opportunity.
And even still, what about that? Well, right quick, sir. So, and also King Sigma and I pointed out to you that there are things that are valued over money. When you talk about equality, it does seem as though you're focused on the income aspect. Now, and yeah, I understand. Now, in other situations, women can contribute things to relationships other than money. In fact, those things to many men are more valuable than money, i.e. child rearing, i.e. homemaking, homekeeping, et cetera, and just general support as a helpmate. These things to many men, especially those who have money and will maintain consistent employment for the remainder of their life, is far more valuable than adding an additional income, which essentially becomes a portion of hers. So I don't think that equality is, once again, I don't think that equality is something that can consistently be maintained throughout a relationship and therefore will ultimately end the relationship. Now, it's good that your parents survived that. However, as MOT was stating, modern women typically leave guys the moment they become unemployed, especially since, they got with him because they wanted equality.
Exactly. And I wanted to add this to Smirgo, and we were talking about this on, I believe it was your stream. You never gave out the disclaimer that you're a 50-50 guy. You didn't bring that up into this panel. You brought it up into yours, but you didn't ever give the disclaimer that you're a 50-50 man.
Oh yeah, I'm 50-50.
Exactly. So that's why everybody's a little bit slightly confused as to your premise. Now, with that being stated, that's your ideals, but in the world we live in nowadays, particularly America, most women will never go for that. Most women would want their lifestyle subsidized. We see that every day through social media.
Okay.
Women would rather have a lifestyle that's subsidized. So your concept of saying a 50-50, although you might want that, like you're trying to say, you're trying to make a comparison. Is like, why would you want a woman that's struggling over in another country the way you work with another woman here, but you're under the notion that women over here want to work with you on 50-50 terms, which is that's totally untrue.
I mean, that's what I've experienced, but I guess my anecdotal evidence doesn't go for the lion's share of men, and I can understand that. But that's just a model I've seen work, because when you look at divorces, one of the main reasons for divorce is financial, right?
Absolutely.
Well, one of the main reasons for divorce is because the woman chose to divorce the man. You see, as you stated, your parents went through financial turmoil, both ups and downs, and your mother still chose to stay with the father. So no, the reason that your parents stayed together and the people who divorced didn't is because the woman said, you know something, I simply choose to divorce.
Exactly. I mean, you just look at.
Let me read this private super chat before we go forward. I just saw my thanks for the private super chat. Women don't operate in an egalitarian manner. They operate based on natural law. Whoever has the most power decides the board and the rules of the land. That's what it is. And it's like, you have to understand that it was never supposed to be 50-50. I understand the 50-50 thing. Like, actually, I don't even want to slander your point. I want the 50-50, your 50-50 standard to actually stand as bad as it is. But y'all go ahead. So Sorry about that.
Can I go after Game Changer? Game Changer had something to say.
Wait, hold on a second. We haven't got the two people on the panel yet. Before we go forward, Marty McFly, go ahead, sir.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
Thanks for waiting so patiently. We're just trying to have decent dialogue so that way we can get somewhere with this actual conversation. Because I think to stay your black ass here is something that need to be explored by people who want to be here. Because if they don't want to leave, then stay and have more inventory. Like, I don't understand what's the problem with that. But go ahead, sir.
Yeah. I'm not. I actually know Smurgle outside of this, but just to go to what he's saying, the landscape in America in general, the more physically appealing the woman is, the less likely she is actually going to go for 50-50 because she command more in this market. And that's what brings in partially this traveling stuff. Like I don't label myself with a certain group passport. I'm just a guy who works hard that travels. So what the traveling has done, it's kind of like equalizing the playing field, because now the big thing is, like, certain women are realizing how pretty they are, and because people they got smart with their looks, they say, okay, well, I'm going to max out what I can get for my current looks. And what that does, that prices the normal guy out of the market, even to the point where 6 figures, you're even hearing people saying 6 figures is not enough. It's got to be augmented with a physical component and this and this and that, which is fine. Everybody can ask for whatever they want, but the thing is, can you get it? And what guys are doing, they're actually, and I look at it like this, people who travel, it's not a monolith. There's different levels to traveling. And I was on Austin's panel a few days ago, and just to give a quick rundown, in my opinion, I said, you have to break it down, because like you were saying earlier, just because one person does something, there is no enforcement arm to police people with passports. There is no structure. There just isn't. So what happens is, okay, like, you'll have somebody I call the weekend warrior, Friday to Monday. And in most cases, that person's going there to party, maybe to pay for girls. I don't judge people on what they do, because I can't stop nothing. If I approve it or not, I'm not in a position to pop out in the bushes and stop anybody, nor do I care. But you'll have a weekend warrior, and that's what he does, and that's fine. He goes home, cool. Then you'll have the guy that might do 1 or 2 weeks. He might trick a little bit, because everybody's on this hot topic of tricking. But then, once you start staying longer, a month or 2, you start to move past that. Hopefully, you start to move past that, and then you start thinking long term, like, okay, I like it here. Now, me, I'm like, well, what can I do to actually stay here? Buy some property, hook up with like-minded people. That's like another level. And I think that from what I'm seeing in these at least last 2 weeks, the problem is a lot of people are lumping everybody together. And on the female side, and this is just a theory of mine, I'm starting to see the Treaty of Pookie and EL 2022 to 2023. There's what's being feared most, and what I'm starting to see is that now you have guys from different walks of life actually coming together. It's almost like the friend of my friend, enemy. I don't know the saying, but you get what I'm trying to say, is the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yeah, I kind of messed that up. But what you're starting to see, because when I'm traveling overseas, I'm seeing all types of guys, street dudes. And what happens when you're seeing these guys, and even on the panel, and if you notice, I was actually on the panel with Austin when AMS came up there and got slow roasted. What you see is the first guy that started talking, I forgot the guy's name, but he was more like a street dude, right? And what he was saying, other dudes on the panel can relate to. So this is the first time you're seeing these people coalesce. And what I'm starting to see when I see little things like Melody King and a lot of females, they're getting nervous, because now you don't really have that knee-jerk division. Oh, he's an EL, he's lame. So there's a separation. It's almost to the point where it's like Crips and Bloods are getting together. That's scary. So that's just my theory of why this is being thrust into the forefront. Like, oh, traveling's, but it's a lot of confusion. But
let me give you a little bit of pushback on that.
Okay.
I think there is the beginning of a black Cold War between stayers and goers who want to stay here and deal with this environment, and the other people who understand the actual choice and the people who engage in. That's the actual upcoming divide. So that's where we're at, because there's no more answer, because they painted themselves into a corner. Like AMS, Melanie King are working the same side of the street. Okay? Flat out. They want you to stay. They want you to deal with this stuff. They want you, if you just said this, everything is about sticking your head back into this meat grinder until it gets grinded all the way to the point where it's unrecognizable. And as long as they can keep preying on the hope of people, because you have to understand that this is new information that was never meant for public consumption. Like the Passport Bros was never meant to be a mainstream thing. Because once it gets mainstream, you actually have no more control over it. That's why people want leaders and standards, and so they can hold people to it. While the people who are not beholden to any type of standard get away with what they get away with. And you have to understand that both of these dudes are in the social media business. You don't know if they collaborated behind the scenes to come together. You don't know this stuff. That's type of thing that happens within this environment. You just don't know. You can only have it by the actual actions of the actual stuff that's actually brought out. So hold on a second. Let me get to this $50. Thanks for the $50 super chat, Ike. Shout out to MOT for hosting an actual conversation as opposed to a Bravo convention. Yeah, it's just that once you start to get down to it, there is two different camps here. There's one in the middle who understands choice either way. You have people here who think that, and don't have any experience, but think that people have to level up from tricking to actually having a cultural experience. Then you have the people on the other side who just have the cultural experience, who have no interest in dealing with things here locally. The path of least resistance are the people with the most answers consistently. The people who are even staying don't have the most answers consistently.
Your audio went low.
Yeah, I know. My phone rang for a second. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
It's just that this is where we are, and I think this is still progress. Believe it or not, I think it's still progress, because people are moving into the actual corners to which they are always were, regardless of what we think. This is why I don't even care if you stay. I don't even do content on people getting butchered up, invited to places, and getting shot to death by being here. Dude, I would have an endless supply of live stream if I were to do that for people who actually stayed. People getting killed off of Craigslist, people meeting up with people that they met on dating apps. If I were to be like them, that's the type of content I would be. But I'm not doing content like that. I'm talking about fixing the fractured male psyche from being into a situation where you're not actually focused on your productivity. You focus on somebody else's pleasure over your productivity. And that's what gave them so much power in the first place, on top of the upbringing. And you don't even need to have the upbringing to actually be under a bad system to believe in these type of things. So that's currently like where we are and where I'm at with what's going on. So let's go to Red Pill Finance. I don't think I've seen you on the panel before. What's going on, man? I'm seeing you in the chat a lot. What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on, man? How you been?
I've been all right, man. I'm just trying to bring, some reason to the manosphere. We can't apparently have conversations anymore. And I want to be able to flesh out the conversation to see what the actual disagreements are. Because the disagreements are just that the people who want to stay think we're going for one reason. The people who are going think the people are staying are here for another reason. I think if everybody just did what they wanted to do outside of the criticism across the board, because it's not the Passport people who's complaining about anybody. It's never that.
Yeah, exactly. Me personally, I'm going for different reasons. I want to buy land And it was always more of a cultural thing for me because my people are from actually Jamaica, so we grew up different. We see different things as far as like American culture and how my family grew up. So when I actually started to grow up and starting to see these things as far as like the problem in our community, um, I didn't want to partake in it, man. Like me personally, I'm on the way to move on to bigger and better things. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the tricking conversation because a lot of people they say tricking is as far as how they say it, they look down on it. They uh they talk shit about you if you were a trick. Now, me personally, if you want to trick, go ahead and trick. Cause let's be real. If you a man, you on your grind, you doing your thing, you getting to the money. Listen, I don't care what you do. At the end of the day, if you're somebody who giving enlightenment or you somebody who's positive in the community, I can care less whether you're a trick or not, because you're bringing value to the community. So how you feel as far as people demonizing tricking and all that of the sort?
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't think there's a problem with tricking at all. I think there's a problem with women benefiting off of a man's action in a specific place. That's what I think is the undercurrent beneath the tricking argument. Because people don't have a problem with women putting dudes on child support. But they do have a problem with dudes getting access to sex. Like they want people to have sex with consequences. That's why they're like, oh, you getting this out of her. And I'm like, you okay. Everything that you do is based on some long form of what this person is getting instantly. I don't see what the problem is. I've never seen a problem with it. Like, what's the difference between a person going up there with this monkey suit on with and acting in a non-masculine manner, mostly feminine in nature, to actually gain access temporarily to a woman, and a man actually going straight paying directly for what they want out of the actual experience? It's still the same person who's doing both of those things at the same time in the same environment. I don't see what the difference is. But the women are not even asking for this type of representation from the men. All the people who talking about tricking and all this shit, women don't care about that shit. They care about their access to men. They don't care about your access to women. They don't care about you defending them. You defending them or pretending to defend them doesn't get you anything from them. It doesn't. Any person who brought up this argument, you've never seen a woman say, yeah, that a boy, come on over and hit this ass. Never have heard it.
They
Never
don't
have
care
seen
about
it.
tricking. It's not even about tricking. It's about control. It's
Yeah.
about controlling black men's options. Because to me, when I hear a lot of these anti-passport guys speak, they just sound like slave catchers to me. So I want to go back to what Smirgo was saying about that earlier, because I've noticed that there's been a switch in the strategy and how they term it now. So now it's about sexual morality, or it's about saving brothers from HIV, even though America's top 10 largest cities, they have some of the highest rates on the globe, especially for our small population. So when Smirgo was talking about the sex monger, my question to him would be, what is the dividing line between a sex monger and a healthy heterosexual male attitude towards sex? Because to me, a lot of these guys are starting to sound like they're anti-heterosexual black males on the low.
You saying what's the line?
Yes, what's the dividing line between sex monger and healthy heterosexual male appetite?
The dividing line is producing successful, healthy relationships. Sex mongers can't produce healthy relationships.
Hold on.
So you mean-
Wait. Now, I didn't say anything on relationship. I was talking about just straight about the sexual appetite. I'm not talking about relationship. That's a part of sexuality. But I'm speaking specifically to sexual appetite.
I want to respond after Sigma.
Well, uncontrolled sex mongering and sexual degeneracy produces bad environments. You gotta understand the reason you're leaving in the first place is because you're escaping a bad environment, and then the sex mongering creates a bad environment.
Let me slow you down a little bit, Smirgo, please.
Smirgo, he asked a direct question. You have to
asked
answer
a very specific question. What is the dividing line between sex monger and a healthy heterosexual male attitude towards sex and behavior?
The outcomes.
Okay, so if we're talking about the tricking the outcomes for a dude that says, I want to take my passport and go to an international sex market, they're getting all the results they could ever want. So by your definition, that's a healthy heterosexual behavior. Your own definition, not mine, what you just said.
It's not healthy.
But you just said it was healthy.
Well, you wanted a specific answer, and then it's not a specific answer to the question you asked, because you got to look at the outcomes and what your actions produce. Because we can agree that women having out of control sexual access creates a bad environment. Well, the same thing is true for men too, where they don't reserve their sexual escapades, and they're ruining the women of that environment through their sexual escapades. So it's like,
okay.
Yeah, it's a circular thing.
Let me pause you right there. So basically, you're making the argument that if a man has casual sex to you, that's an unhealthy action by a heterosexual male. That's your definition, right? Because that's what you just said.
Yeah.
Okay, so but the majority of men don't believe that they need to be married to a woman just to have sex. Most men want casual sex, and that's considered a healthy sexual attitude.
Well, at that point, you can't complain about the environment.
But hold on.
Wait, hold on. Let me read the super chat real quick before you get in there. King Sigma, number 16, cognitive dissonance on display. What the fuck? Yeah, go ahead, King Sigma.
Oh, I'm just saying that he's talking about the environment. This actually improves the environment, because if you have men exiting from a sexual marketplace, the law of supply is supposed to kick in. So again, I use this model all the time. If I have 10 males and 10 women, and 5 of those men leave, that means that the demand for the remaining 5 males like yourself who don't believe in casual sex, it's supposed to go up and increase dramatically by 2, because now you have 2 women for each male. That means that your demand is supposed to go up. So that actually improves your environment for someone like you.
Okay. All right. So I see what you're saying. So like, I guess it's a difference of the goals, right? So if you're talking about you have a bad environment and changing your environment produces better outcomes, what is the outcome that you're seeking to reach, right? So if the outcome is just for men to have as much sexual options as possible,
wait, hold on,
wait, no, you changed it. I didn't say that. I said you got 10 women in the room, which we call the community. We're going to use that for example. You had 5 men that left. You have 3 men that said, I'm going Sysbm this year. And you had 2 men that said, I'm going Passportbros. That means that Smirgo, with his anti-casual sex stance, now has 2 women competing for his resources and access to him. That's a positive change for the environment, is it not? Because their behavior is going to get better because Smirgo is saying, this is my standard. I'm anti-casual sex. I'm for better outcomes. Now you have to get on my code or get left behind. So how is that not better for you, Smirgo?
Man.
Yeah.
Look. Okay.
Tough place.
So, but I'm okay. So, okay. Let's define this, because I'm still lost on the changing of environment thing. MOT says a change environment for a better culture and better outcomes, right? Casual sex does not produce a good environment.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. Smirgo, hold on a second. Let me read this super chat. DJ Nav, Sigma is spot on. Let us not forget first right of refusal. Now, what I'm simply doing here is letting people know that you can regain the first right of refusal once you get your shit together. Now, I am a shit together first person. I don't think, and I don't have control over who women give their bodies to, at what point they give their bodies to them. I want men to give their productivity to who they want to give it to for whatever reason they want to. I'm not trying to get nobody to stay here. I'm not trying to get nobody to go anywhere. I'm just telling you the actual result that I've received. I understand that staying here has its own issues as well as going, but at the end of the day, I would want people to have more choices rather than less. Let me get to the next super chat. I just saw my thanks for $10 super chat. Most see here that want an in-house relationship with Keisha. The problem is that Keisha doesn't want it with them. Women want casual sex more than dudes do. Correct. She wants more freedom with more people, not less freedom with one person. It makes all the sense in the world. If I put myself in that situation and understand their point of view, it would have to be that if they want more casual sex from thirsty dudes, the best way to do it is to not be in a long-term relationship. It's really not that difficult. Hold on, so let me get passport community.
Well,
Hold on,
can I say something? Oh.
Let me get a passport community person. No excuses. ENT, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming up.
Oh, what's good? What's good, man? Appreciate it.
Oh, you got something?
Oh man, no, I'm just following the discussion, man. I'll chime in once I see something I want to respond to.
Okay, man. Just feel free to interrupt because you're the only voice that we haven't heard in a while. Well, on here on this panel. But we're gonna go back to Smurf.
Yeah. So like I was under the impression that Passport Bros wanted a better environment where they could have better relationships and better outcomes, produce strong, healthy families. So now that that's off the table, the point now is
wait, hold on. Who said it was off the table?
Well, then you're it's off the table because what King Sigma is communicating to me is that the reason Passport Bros are traveling is because they want to deregulate the market for themselves, similar to the women.
Hold on, Smirgo. Now you know that you just straw man the hell out of me. I didn't say anything like that. I said the exact opposite. I said by black men expanding their option, because again, I took 5 black men out of 10. That gives more power to control the outcome and enforce a standard of the remaining 5 men. If, and this is a big if those women truly desire a black man, because again, those 5 black men, they may have less black men to compete with, but they still have to compete with the white, the Asian, the Latino man as well. So what I said is that in that environment, you now have twice the power you had when I was in that room with you, because I'm leaving that room. And now those women have to make a choice. They can get on Smirgo's plan and those like Smirgo, or they can go out in a greater marketplace and try to compete with the other women. So what are you talking about? That actually helps your cause.
So King Sigma, you explained it several times. I think I could better explain it so he can answer the question. Earlier, Smirgo, you were saying that why do you want to sit at a table with tricks and sex mongers? Why do you want to sit in a country with tricks and sex mongers? Wouldn't it be to your benefit if they all left and went elsewhere and left you to be here with American women and create your society accordingly?
What? All right.
No, I mean, you can start with a yes or no and then explain yourself. That's how we're going to do it.
Well, so basically, I took the math out of King Sigma's question and asked the same thing to you, the question that you've been avoiding for quite some time.
So the question is, if the sex mongers and the degenerates leave the country, it'll make a better.
Hold on a second, Smirgo. Is it a yes, you agree, or no, you don't agree? And then after that, you can say a why. So is it yes, no, yes, or no?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Yeah, because if a bunch of sex mongers and tricks leaving the country, then that creates a better environment in America.
Then you should be happy that that's what people are promoting then. But you're not. Why?
Okay, so like I've been labeled as somebody that's against traveling in general, and I'm not. I am for MOT's point of going to a better environment if that's what you choose to do, and that's what I'm choosing to do. I'm in the process of I want to eventually get my own authority so that I can afford to move overseas and do that thing. So like I don't know. I think I give the impression I'm against traveling in general. I'm not. But my point is, if you're going for a better environment, right? You're taking those American customs to that environment. You're ruining that environment.
That's completely different than what you're saying. Because what you're saying, what you were saying before assumes that American custom is tricking and whoremongering. You assume that the people who are going now are much different than your intention, you in the future who intend to go. So you created that straw man, as King Sigma said.
I'm not assuming anything. This is
well,
out
you
there in the
assumed that
open.
they were tricks and whoremongers, did you not?
I'm not assuming anything. They're pretty out and open with it, and no excuse can actually talk to that because he's talked to that before.
Let me interject.
No, hold on a second. I'm a subscriber to a channel that's not the basis of his channel. His channel is about cultural things on this channel, so we just can't be throwing other people under the bus because of something they may have said.
No, I wasn't throwing them under the bus. But what I'm saying is he spoke to like a lot of guys that do go to these countries and they do monger and things. Like he's talked to that before.
Yeah, but
And he
they're
can
not a
better
part of our
explain that.
group.
And he can better explain that because he's actually
But
been
your
there.
definition of monger, see, again, you're using that term again. But we already acknowledge that your definition of monger is not the true definition of monger. Actually, your definition is considered what healthy heterosexual males do with their sexuality. You have a very restricted and abnormal version of monger. So you got to keep that in mind too.
Well, his definition of monger is very similar to game. Basically, when an American or a player or something like that, when an American man approaches an American woman with intentions of having sex with her, it's very common here in the U.S. And I don't know why it's problematic elsewhere. I mean, it's problematic here. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know why it would be more problematic elsewhere.
All right, let me try to clean up some of the lingo. So mongering is pay for play. That's what it is. It's pay for play. The notion of guys ruining or Americanizing places or bringing their bad habits to other places, it's inevitable. Feminism is spreading to these countries. Americanization is spreading to these countries. You seeing guys going to Colombia and DR making it rain. We call them passport pookies. Them the guys that we don't. Them the guys that we despise. The passport pookies. You know what I mean? I mentioned on another stream that in Cartagena a few weeks ago, a black man got deported. He on a balcony smashing a chick in the middle of downtown. People feel disrespected in their country. They record it. Police come, I think, fine him like $3,000, and he can't come to Colombia no more. Like that's the shit that we don't want to see. Like I don't mind, guys should be able to pay for play because they don't have that option in the U.S. Guys should be able to expand their horizons to find a wife or date or to live outside the matrix. You know what I mean? But that pookie shit, you know what I mean? That's the stuff that as a passport bro that I push back on. I don't push back on what guys want to do tricking overseas, but the world is getting smaller. We are, we are in the end of times, you know what I mean, to say a better word. So feminism is going to spread to more countries, and guys in our generation, we could take advantage of what's not tainted now, and hopefully our sons can have options as well. But you know what I mean? Right now, it's just get in while you can, because the list of countries that we circulate amongst our space is getting smaller and smaller. Colombia, DR is kind of like at the end of its run.
I don't have a problem with guys like you that try to keep the passport pookies out, because we've seen so many times when these elements, the most degenerate forces, come in, they not only get the most attention because they shine a light on the 1% of problems, but they're also usually the loudest ones in the room. So I agree with you on the passport pookie. But Smirgo's definition of monger is very strict because it includes casual sex at large. And what I was trying to point out is that we already had the political, we've already had the economic expansion of the world, okay? This is 2022. All that was waiting was for the internet, smartphones to become extremely available to average people to expand the sexual marketplace. And that's what you have. I talk to women all the time who travel over the seas to meet dudes. I knew a female I went to school with. She told me she got pregnant by some Nigerian dude in China. Never met him here in the States or anything. She was on an app with the global passport on there, Tinder or something, started an online relationship with this dude. Now she's living over in China with a Nigerian dude working in China. These were things that outside of the military or really high-level corporate black men had no access to. So now everyone has a problem with it. Oh, these women are dirty feet. But what you don't know, if you ever dated immigrant women here in the United States, these are some of the most thirsting for learning women that I've ever encountered. I've seen more immigrant women I've dated have a hunger for knowledge and a sapiosexual attitude than even women in America. So why are we making this assumption that these women overseas, just because they're in a third country, like they're dumb and they can't be molded to a real valuable man, a high quality man with his shit together, with his resources together, that comes in contact with a woman that has a thirst for learning and a thirst for masculinity? She's going to get on code and adjust herself. So let's not 100% throw these women in those countries under the bus, because they're not as dumb as you think they are.
Can I interject something real quick?
You got it.
All right, so I'm glad No Excuses brought up the distinction of the passport pookie, because that's kind of been my argument from the beginning. If you're going to these countries and you're promoting the mongering and the tricking and all that shit, you're ruining the environment for future people that want to go there, right? So like then at that point, how long is it before traveling doesn't become a viable solution to the environmental problem that you're facing? And you end up getting the same outcomes that you face overseas.
Let me correct you. I didn't say the passport pookies and the people and promoting. You got to define promoting, because guys that post or share videos of them in a hot tub with three hot chicks, I don't, you know what I mean? I feel like that's just having a good time, and that's legal. It's legal in their country. They're just sharing their experiences. Pookies do niggerish shit over the country, making it rain. You know what I mean? Throwing money in the streets. You know what I mean? Like we clown guys for that. Smashing in public. That's ratchet behavior. That's the passport pookie. The guys that want to share their sexcapades. You know what I mean? Like that's a personal value. How you feel about that? I'm indifferent on people wanting to share their personal sex escapades. That's their only. They're putting their OnlyFans in public, so to speak. So we could talk about that. You know, I mean, people putting what they would put on OnlyFans in public, because that's basically what we're talking about.
I do agree that you have to maintain the cultural circumstances that led to the women being that way if you're going to travel.
Yes, and that's the point I'm making as well.
I don't think that it is. I think that's the point.
Or maybe that's the point I want to make, and maybe I'm not communicating it properly.
But are you more concerned about international women, Smirgo, or because my understanding was that you're more concerned about domestic women?
My point is, all right.
Well,
I'll lay out. I'm more concerned about the environment that produces healthy families, right? So, like, ideally, I would get my money up in America, and wherever I find my woman is where I find my woman. If I find my woman in America, I would take my woman from America and move overseas with her. Like, I'm not opposed to that. I don't think women are any much different around the world, but fairly, I don't have the experience with international women either to even make that like assumption. But like if we say that female nature is universal, and that's always been the concept that we have in these spaces.
Not me. I'm not part of that. I'm not part of that. That's make the assumption, because I actually take the opposite. I believe that the culture starts with the masculine patriarchal men. So I can't say that women are the same, because I think that it's a spectrum, right? I think that the more matriarchal society is, you'll get a different type of female. The more patriarchal, you'll get a different female. So I don't believe women are the same at all. In fact, if women are the same, then there's no point in even talking about all these conflicts we have. There must be an assumption. Hold on. There must be an assumption, and I think a lot of men make my assumption that men that have their mother and their father in a healthy relationship produce the most feminine products for men like me. That's an assumption I make. I don't think women are the same.
Can I?
Okay, would you say?
I want to. Okay. Let me get the super chat, and then we'll go to GC, and then Smirgo after that. Charles Merchant, take for send out super chat. Anti-passport guys really just want traveling BM to carry some feminism out to these toxic places. If not, you're either weak, trick, or an abuser of poor women. Yeah, like like most of these, like they have this fake concern trolling for like people overall. Like you got enough shit to fix over here. There is no way you're focusing on the very minuscule amount of people who are traveling, or versus the maximum amount of people who want to stay and deal with this shit. Like there are a lot of things that you got to fix over here. I think that the average man having an actual good interaction with a woman, regardless of anything, put a lot of these dudes to shame, because they leveled up on non-viable circumstances. And for another guy to go to some viable circumstances where he can get a one-to-one output, it always is considered slanderous, it's tricking, or you got to travel. But you cannot bring these people on and have them explain themselves real time. It's nuts. There's no way you're going to be able to do those type of things. It's just crazy. I'm like, look, outcomes matter. Outcomes matter than these damn intentions. Outcomes is something that you got to live with. A lot of these people can't live with the child support shit. They can't live with the fact that they can't go nowhere. They can't live with the fact that their whole Masculine experience is dealing with one type of person, and they can't update their operating system. As somebody said before, or maybe on another live stream, same hardware, different software. We just want to deal with different software. That's all. Not hard. It's really easy. But go ahead, Smirgo. Then game changer.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Wait,
how long?
did you want to go first, MLT?
Game changer can go first.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Jason.
Okay, so you were saying that that's what you were trying to say the whole time, when really it wasn't. I mean, to be fair, you were the one talking about 50-50 or equal relationships, and it's impossible to maintain an equal relationship with a woman who comes from a developing country. You know, that was your stance as well. So this pretend new direction to where you're just against what no excuse calls passport pookies is very disingenuous. No, you're against the concept of traveling because the women abroad have different socioeconomic backgrounds. Let's stick with that stance, because that seems to be the hill that you are going to die on, and that you're dying on. Let's not try to find a new hill and go somewhere else and say, okay, we all agree that passport pookie is a bad thing. Yes, we all agree on that. But now protect your stance that wealthy men should not get with women who are not as wealthy as them. Go for it.
Well, now we're conflating my reasons for traveling for the overall reason. My reason for traveling seems to be completely different than what the vast majority of other passport bros are moving overseas for doing. So, like,
but Smirgo, stop right here. But Smirgo, let's stop right here. Whatever reason that you're traveling for, no one cares. No one cares. The fact is, we want you to have the option to travel. That's the basic point that we have here.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah, but the further conversation saying that you do have some apprehensions on that. That's what the whole furtherance of the conversation has been about, is a person to be a perfect passport bro. You have to go over there, you have to do this, you have to do that. And we're not trying to create a perfect circumstance. We're trying to create more options for people to go to. I hope they use those options in a positive manner. You know, the people who stayed here and used these options in the so-called positive manner did not lead to best results or better results. We're just hoping that the people who never had the options of dealing with different people do the right things with those new options. That's the only thing.
But why did he drop his argument, though? It seemed like he dropped his whole argument because a minute ago, he was saying that we all know about female nature and pointing to what GC just said. Isn't hypergamy one of the most common knowledge about women's behavior and their nature? So why? I don't get it. If you guys are going to go in on poor women, there's poor women here in America. I don't hear people complaining about these dudes that go to the strip club, who obviously these women are from poor backgrounds, and spend all their checks on these women, knock these women up, often with children that are bastards, don't marry them. He don't got no complaints about that, even though he said that he's more concerned about the domestic environment. Women exercise hypergamy. So it's almost like you're taking the side of women here domestically, saying that don't take your resources to another country and give them to a poor woman over there, even though that's his choice. Only give your money to domestic poor women, because they're all exercising hypergamy everywhere on the planet, Smirgo. I don't get why you're dropping that argument now.
Hey, can I interject?
Well, let Smirgo, and then you got it, bro. I just want him to respond because it's like he's dropping his whole argument.
My argument is that when you're doing that, you're changing the environment. So to simplify my point, I would travel for a change of environment that produce better outcomes for my family in the long run, right? So when you trick and you bring those American customs over to those countries, you're changing the environment.
Tricking isn't an American custom. Tricking has been going on since Babylon. They had it in like ancient Mesopotamia. Here, actually, I'm gonna throw something else at you, see what you think of this. I actually think that American men taking their egalitarian views, their Republican views to those countries better, because here's the thing. All they're doing is actually giving women another option outside of being one of 1,000. Now these women become one of 100, because in some countries, they have countries where the richest 1% have harems of thousands of women. What happens is that now the oligarchical nobles type of situation gets overrun by Americans that are coming over there with their money. And now these women don't have to be under the authority of a local chieftain, a local sheik, or anything like that. Now they can say, hey, these Europeans, these American men, these Asian men are coming here. that's actually giving the women in those environments more choice, not less choice, Smirgo.
All right, so let me before we have Smirgo respond, I don't believe in this female nature shit. I think female nature is regulated by the government first, then it's regulated by the culture, then it's going to be regulated by the men, then it's going to be regulated by women between each other. That's my actual standard. And that's why I don't believe in female nature, because female nature isn't to have infinite choice. No society would even allow this type of shit to go on that is happening here within the United States. That's why you don't have the same results of how people act everywhere else within the world, because they have an actual level of not allowing people to skirt consequences for basic things that they do wrong within the environment itself. So I don't believe in the female nature argument. Wait, hold on a second. I got to find out the chat from number 16. 10,000 years ago, they were trading box for seashells. And yeah, they were. Well, I mean, as long as you can trade anything, that was a tradable item.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to interject. I don't know if Smirgle left or not.
Yeah, but he left. So he left. So
but the thing is, what I see just by listening to what's going on, what I see the problem is people are having conversations about something they don't even know about, because it's almost like I'm going to have a full-on conversation with a biologist and how I think they should be doing certain procedures a certain way, and I never studied a day in my life. It's the same thing when people say, hey, this is what happens overseas, and then when you ask them, have you been overseas? It's no. And that's part one of the problem. Part two of the problem is, if you travel overseas, you would know that Black men have the worst reputation for spending money overseas. We're not even looked at as people possibly or even possible to trick. They actually, in a lot of cases, they avoid, if a woman is looking for that, most cases, they actually avoid you because of that stigma. But you wouldn't know that if you don't travel. So I believe that these are certain things, and, you know, not to belabor the point, but there's more tricking in the US than anywhere else. Why? Because one, your dollar is 1 for 1. So your dollar is going to be equal to $1, whatever you spend. And then in most cases, when these guys are having relations with domestic women, I ask me, run it down to me. What is your typical date looking like? In New York, I don't know where everybody's from, but let's just use New York City for a case in point. Gas, toll, parking, you're looking at $70 right there, and you didn't even get to the destination. Then you go to a decent restaurant, probably have 2 or 3 drinks, a couple of appetizers, main course, boom, you're 165, 175 in. Now, date's going well. Maybe you want to have, you know, some drinks at the bar a little bit later. You're looking at a $300 night. And then you have a lot of guys who consistently do this and don't even smash at the end of the night. They're called foodie dates. I'm sure everybody's heard the little survey they did where most women in the US actually just go on dates to extract the resources because they don't have enough money to buy food that night. This is literally what's going on. So if we're gonna talk about, and here's another thing, let's reset the table for one quick second. And this kind of annoys me.
Whoa, we're not resetting the table.
No,
we're talking about
Marty, don't go to, because you made a lot of points, and there was one point that you made that I want to get to.
Yeah, only thing I wanted to say, I just want to say one thing. This notion of tricking is totally off. See, when Black people in general talk about tricking, what they're saying is pay for play, buying drinks, maybe buying a plane ticket. That's not tricking. You know, guys who really trick, which tend to be Germans, older white dudes, buy apartments in nice neighborhoods for girls they smash on the weekend. That's tricking. This little, you know,
it'll take too much time to define tricking, man. You'll be all day spending.
All I'm saying is these little trinkets is not tricking.
Don't go too far, Marty, because you made a few points that we got to respond to first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because one of the things I was thinking about, and I've had this conversation with MOT before, in talking about how you build an actual community from the ground up. I mean, like literally buying land, building houses, how much labor it takes, right? I never hear these guys that go against anti-passport bros talk about how our dollars creates opportunities in other countries. So, for example, let's say you had a community of 100 Black American men that expatriated, right? They're going to have certain demands that they're going to want from like the businesses in the area, certain kind of lifestyles. That demand that comes with their dollars creates jobs that has nothing to do with prostitution. For example, if American men have a diet that has like American food, some entrepreneur, it could even be one of them, is going to open an American style restaurant. As long as there's enough customers to meet it, that demand is going to be met. Then there's going to be hotels for when family comes and visit. So that group creates an economy within an economy, but no one ever talks about that. And most of those employees will actually be the domestic labor in those countries that will now not have to be starving because they can go work in a hotel, not have to be starving because now they're working at a call center that some dude from America started that never existed. Now those women are not on the streets. They're not starving. They're not homeless because now they're in a call center and they're getting good local wages. But they never talk about that. Why is it always just about hoes? But it's not about the 99% of men that are not there to whore, that just want a break from working 50 hours per week with an inflation that is got to be around 25% the last year. Why is it just not that simple that Black men want to pay less and get more and relax? Why is it not that?
Because the truth of it is when a lot of dudes focus on women, it actually tells a story that they don't actually get women in real life. So that is the main focus. Traveling for me is not about women. They're just accessories to the main dish. When I'm traveling, I'm figuring out strategies on making money in this country, how to buy property, how to link with like-minded dudes to make more money. That's what I'm thinking about. And then once all the work has been done after 8-9 hour day, then I'm going to make a phone call to see who wants to come hang out with me on my terms. You know, not necessarily pay for play, but hey, what are you doing tonight? Come through. But I have created a situation where she's comfortable coming to see me. It's not a hostel. It's not a rundown spot. It's in a great neighborhood, security. I have food, wine, all that stuff ready to go. And that's built into my personal budget.
All right, Marty, I'm familiar with your travels. We're in the same circles. All right.
Okay, yeah.
So let's be 100, right? I don't consider myself a mongrel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I pursued a wife and that's what I got. But did I pay for play going to Colombia, going to these countries? Yes, I did. You know what I mean? So I don't. So let me directly ask you this: you do not indulge in those activities primarily, but have you paid for play? Have you experienced it at least one time?
No. And what I will add to that is this: I understand as well is nothing in life is free. You know, when you go out on a date in America, that's not free. You're paying, right? Let me finish.
All right, go ahead.
Now, when you go to Colombia, when you go on a date in Colombia, that's not free either, right? And in Colombia, I would even say that's more of a patriarchal system because it's not a 50-50 system where the woman is expected to pay anything. Now, you might be able to get her to do her own taxi, maybe, but that's not a big deal because we both know taxis and Uber in Colombia is like $1.
I'm not talking about that, bro. You playing semantics now. Have you?
I'm not playing semantics. I'm just saying you have to pay. Nothing is free.
I'm saying I know you. So I'm saying that you do photography, right?
Video, photography, music.
You do video photography. Very good, I might say. There are women that guys know because I lived in Medellin and there's guys that's on the ground. You know what I mean? You did shoots with chicks that require money for sex. Now whether you know what I mean, I'm not trying to get too much in your business, but if you had engagements with them and money was exchanged, but you provided photos or videos in exchange for something, that's still the same thing. You know what I mean? Not saying that you did that or not, but you know what I mean? But I guess I don't want we're having a straightforward conversation, and
Right, that's fine.
And the fact that I know you, you know what I mean? I feel like you'll bring more genuine to the conversation by saying, you know what, I don't really indulge in that. You know what I mean? Have I been to these quote unquote trick locations? Have I experienced a dime piece? And you know what I mean? Have I experienced that? Yes, but do I, you know what I mean, is that my thing? No, I don't think there's nothing wrong with saying that. And I'm not trying to force you to say that, but you know what I mean, you're gonna get pressed, you're gonna get pressed on that because
and that's fine.
You know what I mean, a lot of guys are gonna, you know, challenge that.
And that's fine. See, here's the thing. When I go to Colombia, I don't do a cat fax on every single woman because it's hundreds. I'm not even like trying to cap. There's hundreds of women. Some get recommended to me through like a company modeling situation. I've even did a photo shoot with actual porn stars to fly back to my country and say, I didn't even know you did this. I could have shot something for your OnlyFans. But they didn't present themselves as, hey, I got this, because sometimes the female is not going to tell you. And that's really none of my business, because some women over there are working girls, yes. Some girls once a month might have a sugar daddy where she works and has her little thing, but she's not on the street. Everybody does something. And it's up to you if you really want to deep dive into this person's history. But I'm not trying to marry anybody. So what everybody does when I'm not around is not really my concern. All I can do is be accountable for what I do and don't do. You know, I might shoot a girl.
Real quick, man. Let me get to super chat real quick. Thank you for
Hey, hold on, I want to say something very quickly.
Hold on a second. The phone died, but I intend to travel for a better environment. Hey, man, I want you to travel, period. I want you to have a degree of what you want to enjoy, whatever reason why you're going. I'm not putting a cap on why you're going, because whatever reason you think you're going for, people are staying here for the exact same reason why you think that you're getting away from it. Women are going to be there regardless. Thanks for having me up. All right, man. Same here, man. Thanks for coming through. Go ahead and go. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I've been in a situation where.
Wait.
I just want to say this real quick, and I'll let you go.
All right, go.
Like, I've been in a situation where I'll shoot a girl, and later that night we'll hang out, and hey, we might smash, but then I'll post up a picture, and it'll be some random dude say, "Oh, I paid for that girl. Sucks for you." You know, there's different levels with things, you know, so I can't really go into the history of every single person I meet and work with, you know, but that's why you got to have a little bit of like situational awareness when you're dealing with these females or anywhere. But go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna go.
Anyway, yeah, all this trick in travel, that shit, all that is just a gimmick tactic to say, hey, you're paying for ass, I'm going over to another place I'm not paying for it, and I don't pay for ass ever and all that. Guys down. I get the bullshit. I understand the crap, but it doesn't mean anything. No one can determine why one travels or where one travels, how they travel, and why they're doing it. And you're going for business, and this other guy's doing for this, this other guy's going for this. A lot of that is just crap. A lot of times you're traveling to experience new experiences and actually truly exercising your options. That's what this really is all about. A lot of times in business, just like when I was working for the Bank of Brazil and I was down in Brazil for a while, what did I run into? I ran into a very sharp young lady, and she helped me in business as well. So she was there helping me to talk to people up in Sao Paulo, got me a great office up there and the whole deal. And all of that ultimately fed in. So business, dealing with the young lady, friends and all that worked out. It all came together. It just all came together. You see other guys who come in, next thing you know, they may come in, they may call themselves tricking, and then next thing you know, they're going from tricking to buying an apartment or buying something else, because women, since a lot of times they are, you know, your first introduction to the culture, are the best people to have you to introduce you to the culture. And that can come in a lot of different types of ways. So when I see guys fronting and bullshitting, trying to say, oh, I'm tricking, I'm doing better, you're not doing better than anybody else who's coming in there doing the same thing. No, you're not. You're not coming in there. You're not doing jack else. What you are doing is you are expanding your options. And that's what this whole thing is really all about. That's when MOT says, hey, I don't really care why they're going as long as they're traveling. He's exactly right. That's exactly how that becomes. All right. A lot of times people say when you learn a different language, they talk about, you know, you can learn a language great in the street, or you can learn a language in the bed with a woman. You can learn these things
you can learn a lot of cultural things that way as well. So there's a lot to learn from a lot of that. There's a lot to pick up. It's enculturating. You can get a lot of pickups from a lot of different types of people. From hoes, straight girls, from other folks, you can learn a lot. And that's the key here. That's what we want people to be thinking. That's why guys who have their passports and travel do not get caught up into the craziness that's going on here in the United States and listen to the delusions and madness from some of these women who are just talking like their heads are on backwards. Because people look at this after a while and say, I don't got to deal with this. You know, I can go elsewhere and find something a whole lot, more my steed. Now, when it comes down to, I'm coming into a culture, I'm going to destroy it, and these guys are coming to destroy it. No, they're not going in there to destroy that culture. What they're going to do is they're coming into that culture to meet people who are enculturated in that culture and vibe with those people exactly the way that they're vibing. And that's going to be more of their steam, as opposed to coming there and changing it so much. You're not going to change it. Not enough you're going to be able to go in there and change it anyway. What you're going to do is you're going to come in and you're going to encounter the type of woman that really more appeals to you than what you're seeing here. So the tricking argument is just a smokescreen for guys to try to say crap that's just not accurate. And that's for other people to shame you from leaving, because many are jealous. Many don't like to see you move out. Many don't like you seeing making other moves. They get mad and they run all that crap down. I've been seeing this now for decades.
Tell you what's going on.
And I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. And at the heart of a lot of it is fear.
Yeah.
Fear. Fear drives a lot of that talk. Yeah. They're not willing to move out, and you are. We can't miss that. You have to understand that. So when I hear this,
tell you what's going on,
destroying the environment, and he's turning to me, making shit worse, and all the kind of thing. Get the fuck out of here. That's the biggest crock of shit that I've ever heard. And at the end of the day, those who truly travel and they move around, they see that is absolutely contrary to the case. In fact, a lot of times you kind of enhance it, and they want you coming through, in embracing it and being a part of that culture. You start to enculturate in there, you start to learn the language. It's not like you go to another culture and they got them speaking English. A lot of times you go there, you start to learn what their language is. You start to go in there with what's going on with that culture. That's the piece. That's how you expand your horizon. You learn a great deal more. So anybody out here coming here tomorrow, you're going to hurt the culture? Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here.
What's up, fam?
Shit. And I know that you're a scared motherfucker. And you're a scared motherfucker. And I got no deal for you, because at the end of the day, you're trying to keep other people from traveling around. Now get on out of here. Now get on out of here with that bullshit. I ain't buying it, and nobody else is who's traveling out here. All right, yeah. Go ahead, Amoti. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's him, man. Thanks for coming through, man. Yeah, do what's best for you, man. Like here's the argument, man. Like, if everybody was doing what was best for them, what is there to argue about? Like, if the dudes are getting the women that they claim that they're getting here, there are less people competing for the women that they want, and the dudes are traveling for the women that they want to be with. What's the discussion about? What? Why would there be a discussion on anything? Like, what's the disagreement about? I don't get it, man. I'm trying hard, man.
It's really.
Go ahead, line of make what's going on, man? Thanks.
Yes. What's up, fam? What's up? How you doing? Okay, so here's my take on the whole accusations with tricking, accusations of brothers being the pedos and all this other shit for traveling. Let me explain something to you. The timing for all of this is perfect. It is absolutely perfect. You see that as evictions are spiking, all these fucking minstrels are coming out of what we're calling brothers tricks. They're saying they're pedos. They're saying that they're messing with women with dirty feet. They're trafficking, doing all this other stupid shit. No, that's not what's going on. Their reason for tearing brothers down for traveling is that they won't have young men and brothers worth their salt to feed upon. That's what the problem is. If these brothers and these young men cannot be fed upon, these sorry pieces of fat shit, they will lose their jobs, they'll lose their money. They'll go broke. It's no different than what Booker T. Washington was saying back in 1911. And here's the quote right here. Bear with me, hold on. This is for Booker T. Washington in 1911. He said, there is another class of colored people who make a business of keeping the troubles, the wrongs, and the hardships of the Negro race before the public. Having learned that they are able to make a living out of their troubles, they have grown into a settled habit of advertising their wrongs. partly because they want sympathy, and partly because it pays. Some of these people do not want the Negro to lose his grievance because they do not want to lose their jobs. Now, I'm saying to say this. If all these brothers get passports, if brothers worth their salt get passports and young men get passports, they can't be fed upon. They can't be bled dry. They cannot be sent on dummy missions by certain Cleon bitches and certain bitch-made simps to be killed. Ask that fool up there in New York who got stabbed to death because some bitch sent him in there to fight some guy over a bag of potato chips. That death was senseless. It should never happen.
I agree, man. I agree. Let me get the super chat. Zero, thanks for the super chat. Yeah. Travel wars, let's go. I mean, man, you have to realize, man, that like the travel community have a tangible answer, and the other side have nothing but outdated things that women have you can just hop over. So they painted themselves in the corner. I don't know how this stuff is going to work out for them. They got their names out there, they got their face out there, they got products out there, and now people are just moving along to a better solution. I think they're in the corner. I don't know how they're going to get out of it. They should have put themselves there as the spokesperson or the person who got to figure it out. I don't know how this stuff is going to work.
Man, I got a couple of things I want to say to that. So what I find what's in common between black men that have negative things to say and black women that have negative things to say, they both are operating from a competitive nature. So for the black men that hate, it's like this, right? So like I got homies that, let's say, had more women than me in high school or college, or if we go out, they may get more numbers than me. So they're used to getting more than me. You know what I mean? And so the idea of me traveling, hooking up with women that look better than women they had, or even putting up more numbers, some guys feel a certain way about that. You know what I mean? And that's that competitive nature. You know what I mean? You doing something I can't do, or I'm not doing, or I'm used to you being below me, but now you're surpassing me. You know what I mean? We do that when guys start making more money than people that used to make more money than them. You see that. From the black woman side of things, is competition because for whatever reason, a man of tomorrow, I really want somebody to answer this intellectually. Like in most societies, women are okay with the man being number one and the woman being number two. They just want to be treated fairly, more or less. Women pride themselves on being above men socio-economically. You know what I mean? And so when black men do things to be one and them be two, they can't accept that. When you look at the marriage analysis of Asian men being the least married, the black woman being the least married, black women don't like being at the bottom of that list. You know what I mean? So by them having this nature of wanting to compete with black men, which I don't understand why, they see that black men can go overseas and accomplish more in the relationship department than they can. So anything that black men can do better than them, they are against that. When they keep screaming at us to do better and be leaders, but when we try to do better and be leaders, you know what I mean, there's always pushback when we're doing better than them.
You know why? You know why it's a pushback? Because it's a shit test. You're not supposed to do better than them. When you do better than them, they move the fucking goalposts. It's a shit test.
Yeah, well, let me like, you would think the people who would be complaining the most are the divestors.
Exactly.
Now the divestors complain about Sysbm and Passportbros. That would make the ultimate most sense on the planet, because they claim that they're doing what they're doing for, economic reasons. But it's the people who can't claim that they got. It's the people who claim that they got access to so many women that they're worried about their competition leaving. Who does that? Like, listen, if you're in the playoffs and the other team decided not to show up, you win by default, right? So what's the problem overall with having less competition within the environment? And And you can't go off on this moral, oh, well, you're going to mess up the environment. I'm like, okay, we had the 70s, 80s, and 90s. That messed up the environment quite nicely, but I don't see nobody swinging no axes or trying to put nobody in cuffs or trying to bring nobody up on cultural charges of terrorism here. Like I said, we're doing it for a cultural reason, and that's my reason. But I want people to have the option regardless, to include the women. You can have a better option or outcome somewhere else. I would never tell you to stay in a bad situation. I'm from Mississippi. Nobody can tell me that I would have got these outcomes. I would have stayed my ass in Mississippi versus going to Denver. There's no way in the hell that would have happened.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, if you don't like where you're at, leave.
How hard is that?
Exactly. It's not hard. It's not hard.
All right, who we got something else before we get up out of here, because I gotta be able to go pick my truck up. So.
Okay, so I wanted to know. Apparently, this new wave of people who are against Passport Bros are coming from the dating and relationship sector of YouTube. So,
grifters.
Yeah, whatever you like to call them. But what solution do they have to this problem that I noticed online, where brothers and others are flying women in or spending, like $5,000 on a woman, and she's still not sleeping with them, even though she's sleeping in the same hotel, different beds with them. What is their solution to that particular problem? And that question is open-ended. Anyone can answer, or if there is an answer.
I don't think they're solution oriented. I think that they just want to get you to the pool. And once you're at the pool, they kind of drop you off, and your parents don't come pick your ass back up. You just stay at the pool for the rest of your life. I think it's an escorting into a situation without any means out of it. I think it's just like an airdrop over a city, and nobody can get your ass up out of there. That's what I think it is, because they depended on the marketplace to be as ignorant as possible to actually go through their products. Like if you go even 5 years ago, there was more people doing this. 10 years ago, there was even more people doing this. $10 million, millions of dollars going to speak to people about basic things. So it's just a way to get into a bad situation, not a way to get out of it. I'm not bringing up whoever frog in a suit. Come on, man. I can't bring up a fucking human being like that. Actually, you know what? I do see that you were in the. Hold on. Go ahead. Go ahead, Lauren.
Well, I do want to say, yeah, I definitely agree that is what they're going with that. But there's really no justification. Like if a man versus flying a woman in and flying himself out, it does seem like it makes more practical sense for a man to take his $5,000 or significantly less than that and fly himself to a place where results are more guaranteed. I mean, nothing is entirely guaranteed, but results do seem highly more probable. It seems like there's a gamble, a losing gamble, from what I've seen in social media when you fly these women in or you spend an exorbitant amount of money on them. It just seems like for practical reasons, if you have $5,000, then you probably would be better off spending it abroad.
Yeah.
And not domestically on abroad.
Yeah. K-Vines, go ahead, man.
So when you say results, what do you mean by results? Like, define that.
Well, you have to better define your question, because you just said a couple of words. So you have to preface your question with something.
Okay, so he brought up, you invest money, or you think that you've invested money into a girl, okay, and then you expect results. What do you mean by results? What are you looking for? Like, is it sex?
I'll answer that question. The short answer is yes. The men who complain that the women that they flew in, like the one that took her back to the LA airport, he wasn't complaining that she didn't wash his dishes or fix him a sandwich. He was complaining that she didn't put out. So yes, in that particular instance, sex was the result that he sought. Same with the person who spent the $5,000. So yes, sex was the result that they sought, and they would get better results by spending their money in a more intelligible way.
Yeah, but don't you think it's foolish anyway to believe that you can, that you expect that from giving money to someone?
I think it's foolish to not expect it. I think it's foolish. Well, if I may, MLT, I think it's foolish to not expect it, Frog. I think that it's foolish to spend money on anything with no expectation. Kind of like going to a car dealership and spending money and not walking out with a car is stupid, or going to a grocery store.
Yeah, but they're two different.
Right quick. Walking into a grocery store, spending money and not walking out with groceries is stupid. Yeah, it's pretty stupid. It's like going to a car wash, spending money and driving off with a dirty car. It's
that would be stupid.
Spending money on nothing is stupid.
But
Go for it.
they are two different transactions. When you go to a car dealership, that the agreement is that you are giving money for a car. But when you are inviting a girl out for a dinner, that's it. I mean, unless it's specifically spelled out in a contract, they aren't obliged to do anything for you. So it's
foolish. But when you go to a car dealership, you're not specifically, or when you go to a grocery store, I don't sign a contract saying I give you money, you give me groceries. I mean, they could just say, take it and what money? But they don't, because they follow a reasonably understood social contract. A social contract that doesn't exist any longer here in the United States. And therefore, if a person go to another place where the social contract does exist, then they would get better results, sir. You see, when you go overseas, you don't have to sign in Spanish, English, Portuguese, or whatever that I show you a good time and you show me a good time. You don't actually have to sign it. They just know, because they're not idiots and they presume that you're not either.
Okay, so wait, hold on. I have a question for you. So do you think it's a positive connotation or a positive experience for somebody to spend $5,000 and not get anything in return? You think that's a good idea? Do you think that's a good idea?
I think it's just a terrible idea from the beginning.
Okay, so what we're talking about is spending your money and your time in a place where there's a greater return on investment. Not really. I mean, it is kind of really. I
don't think it's an investment, like to pursue a connection with a human being. It's foolish to see that as an investment. Like it's beyond money. It's beyond the physical. It's metaphysical.
But you're going to
but even metaphysical is an investment, because if you're speaking of metaphysics.
No, but I'm talking about physical investment. Sorry.
Okay, because you said metaphysics. I was about to say, because like energy, even physical is energy. Energy and time, right? That's the whole metaphysical.
Exactly.
Was based on energy and time.
But money, people think that money kind of is a wormhole to supersede that the energy transfer, if you want to put it that way. But it can't.
But money is like a sort of energy transfer, right?
Well, it's not about energy transfer, sir. It's about seminal transfer, okay? So yes, and if a person wishes to spend money for that particular result, then they should get that result. Whether the contract is wait a minute, I'm confused. Somebody should purchase something and not get what they purchased.
Viewing a human being as a purchase, it doesn't work like
no. Viewing a human being's actions. Right quick. Viewing a human being's service. You're not purchasing the human being, sir. You're purchasing a service from that human being, similar to the washing the car analogy. See, I don't purchase a personal slave to wash the car. I take it to the car wash and have somebody wash it. I don't purchase somebody to do my lawn. I purchase their service. I don't purchase a barber. So once again, if you pay a significant amount for something, you should get the thing that you pay for, the service that you pay for, not the human being.
Do you have a job, Frog in a Suit?
Yeah, I'm a chef.
Okay, so as a chef, does your employer not purchase your chef services and culinary expertise?
Not expertise, I'm quite shit, but
do they purchase your services?
They purchase my time, but I think it's
they purchase you. They purchase your time, your skill, and your presence, right? Your physical presence.
Yeah, but it's different.
No, it's not. You're providing a service and a commodity.
It's a contract. There is a contract in place where it's like, I pay you, you are there. It's an unspoken contract, okay, but you can't expect someone, if they don't want to, that's your fault for paying them. That's your fault for giving your money to them. You can't blame the person for taking free money.
Yes, you can. If I pay you to cook me a meal and you take the shit and run, then I blame you for that.
Yeah.
No. What are you Are you talking about? Are you talking about inviting a girl and paying for their dinner and all this? Or are you talking about picking up a prostitute? Because it sounds like
what is going on? Like, how did we get here? How did we get back here?
I'm a little bit confused by you. Like in the environment that we're in, women are trading sexual access and even their companionship for dollars every second of the day. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but why play the game? If you're going to
because I want to bust a nut. Because in order to, if you want to bust a nut in the current environment, you're going to play by whatever the rules are if you want that, or you can go to another environment that has different rules.
But he's talking about being unsatisfied or upset with the game. So why play the game if you want it to?
That's why they're traveling and going to another environment.
Yeah, exactly. So the Passport Bros represent people that don't wish to play this game because it seems as though the opposition is making up the rules as they go along.
Yeah, sorry, I don't quite follow.
No, you won't get it.
No,
It's fine. He won't get it. That's what.
No. I mean, I could translate it from English to English, or English to British.
Thank you.
So yeah, no worries. So simply put, you refer to the game as in the game here in the U.S. is continue to pay money and hopefully she'll have pity on you and have sex with you. The game abroad is, you pay and they follow a unspoken contract to where, if you date a girl and show her a nice time, she will show you a nice time in return.
Yeah, but that comes. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, that comes down to gratitude, and when you go to a different country, there are different levels of gratitude.
Okay, so then you go to. Then it makes sense to go places. Then it makes sense to go places where women are more gracious.
Yeah, of course. If that's
so
what you're
when
seeking,
you say, that's pretty much the crux of what we're saying.
But when it comes to the first world, where there is an overabundance of money and there's an overabundance of sensationalized, imagery, media, how it portrays money. Yeah, girls won't care that you've, it's foolish to, especially in cities. I live in London. London is awful because it is a very heartless place. It's very soulless. Like the humanity here is quite lost.
Okay, so you agree with the concept of if a place is culturally not advantageous to you, then you should go to one that is, correct?
Yeah, but it doesn't just come down to advantageous. It comes down to within other, someone was talking about Colombia. These countries are a lot more religious. They're a lot more
that qualifies as advantageous, man. It does.
But you said that money is abundant. That's not the full picture of what money is in our current situation. In America, at least, there's a lot of poor people here. I'm sure there's poor people in London. So money is abundant, but it's not equally distributed amongst people. So it's not abundant for everybody, though.
Take your money to a different country and the conversion rate. I mean, you can be poor in London and rich in Moldova.
Exactly, and there you go. Exactly.
Problem, sir.
That sounds like a solution to me, frog in the soup.
Yeah.
But
sounds like game over to me.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, yeah. But I think pursuing meaningless sex is.
What is the meaning of sex?
That's your personal opinion.
Right quick. Sex is a meaning in and of itself, but how do you define meaningless sex?
When you never talk to them again. You never see them again.
But the meaning of the interaction was sexual release. So it wasn't necessarily meaningless because it meant sex.
It meant pleasure. And that.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, but
so all right, do this for me. Define meaningless sex, because that's almost a contradiction in terms.
Meaningless. It's you're serving yourself, not the other person.
Why is it?
That's the meaning. So is the purpose of sex? So hold on, right quick. So sex, the meaning of sex is to please the other person, not yourself?
It's fulfilling a basic instinct to create a family, to have someone that you love. But
so condoms shouldn't exist. So condoms shouldn't exist because it doesn't produce a family, correct?
I mean, shouldn't no, I wouldn't.
We're going down a rabbit hole.
Well, we're going down a frog hole, but if you entertain me for a second, sir, have you ever had sex? Have you ever had sex with a condom on?
Yeah.
What was the meaning of that?
To not get a disease.
No.
What was the meaning?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Didn't want pleasure?
Wait, what? Sorry.
I said you didn't want pleasure just because you had a condom on.
You didn't want pleasure. It's a very short-sighted instinct. I
didn't ask you if it was short. I said, did you have pleasure or not?
Yeah, but
okay, so that had meaning. The meaning was pleasure.
Yeah, but what meaningless
So
sex? I guess it's a poor
no,
definition.
it's not meaningless. It may be. I think the word you're searching for less meaningful in your viewpoint, but it definitely had meaning. You just admitted it. You just admitted it.
If you're not a virgin, then any morality around sex is out the window.
And also, when we talk about prostitutes, because it seems like I kind of got you were talking about the prostitution thing, right? Now you do realize that they've surveyed and found out that most prostitutes orgasm with their tricks, even with their tricks. So even they enjoy playing with their tricks.
But it goes beyond sex. I'm talking about love. Like I'm talking about
love?
finding.
Oh man, look! Oh man! Stop!
If you want to get into the science and biochemistry of sex, it is impossible. If you look at the biochemistry within sex and the chemical reactions that go on within sex, it's impossible to not develop a connection with this person. So it is futile to try and have a one-night stand. You will always be left emotionally scarred by it.
But there's not no one. Okay, let's think about it in terms of degrees, right? A connection can be anywhere between 1 and let's just say the number 100, right? Let's say between 1 and 100. Everybody doesn't have the same level. So you may be looking for 80% connection. The next person may be cool with 10. You don't know for a fact that everyone has the same need for a connection as the next person.
That's why it's my
opinion.
opinion.
It's subjective.
That's why it's my opinion. But you look down at like the downfall of society. That's something that
Hold on. I could challenge you and say, you know what? I look down on the fact that people have sex outside of marriage. You had sex outside of marriage, so that is shameful. I look down on you.
Sex outside, but marriage is a contract. It's a legal contract. It has nothing to do with love. It's an economic decision. Marriage, legal marriage,
Nah, man, we're no longer doing this shit, man. We got to close the arguments, man. Like, but this is gonna be like 9 hours before we get to
look at the court system. Look at how men get treated in courts when they get in a divorce. It is a contract. It has nothing to do with love.
Okay, well, these are your last words, man. So go ahead, man. Your last one is what?
It's a trap within society to get married to a girl that you don't love, because you will be destroyed by it. And then people will do it over and over again, because marriage is the definition of love, but it's not. You don't have to be married to be in love. Marriage is an economic decision, because you get joint taxable accounts. You save your money. You know, it's purely done for legality.
All right, so travel and don't get married. Got it.
Isn't the solution to that just not to get married?
Got it.
But he said having sex outside of marriage is immoral.
Who
said don't get married.
Who said that?
That's enough, man. We got it.
My response to it.
We got it. Marty McFly, last words.
I mean, I was going to ask him, does he get upset when he finds out men have sex with girls he likes or something?
No, because I believe in free will. You know,
all right, so if you believe in free will, then it's my free will to travel and do what I want, right?
Yeah, but I never told you not to do it. I was just.
But you're on the panel saying there's something wrong with it in your opinion, so obviously you have a problem with it.
But I believe in free will. I don't.
You can't believe in free will and try to police my activities. It doesn't make sense.
When was I trying to see? You're trying to put me in a box to fit your narrative.
No, you put yourself in that box. You said you had a problem with men having sex with women meaninglessly. That's your word.
I would have a problem with myself doing it. That is my opinion. I don't care what.
Exactly.
Hey, Vines, man, like the last words.
You had a problem with it.
You have to stop interacting with us at some point, man.
Why? I like discussion. I'm not angry with.
Yeah, obviously, but we gotta go. Marty, last words, man.
Yeah, you know, hey, listen, man, frog in the suit, you're special, man. I give you that one. But all I'll say is, like, you know, like I said, a lot of people have a problem with guys getting the one up, and I see this a lot. And the way I look at it, these countries have millions of women. And when people travel, it's not like we hold the only passports. You can get one too. But to travel, it does take a certain amount of finances and planning. A lot of people just don't have it to do that. That's why a lot of men don't even have passports. But when you show the receipts, you know, maybe not in a braggadocious way, but if you just, hey, listen, I'm having a good time. I met so-and-so overseas. A lot of people don't like to see others win. And that's just really like the crux of it. All this stuff about, you know, having sexual morals and all this bullshit just really just comes down to I can't do what you guys do, and I really want to do it, but I can't admit it. That's just the truth of it, you know. And I'll say it. Like I said, I'm not well liked in certain, you know, circles because I say things that are very inflammatory to the travel community myself, but I do tell it like it is, you know. So well, guy like a frog in a suit, you know, he'll be the one pillow talking with the girl overseas saying, why you got to do this? You know, you shouldn't be taking those photos. So, like, you know, it's cool though. But like I said, you know, good conversation. Everybody enjoy the night or day.
Yeah, I would
All right.
just say,
Thanks for coming through, Marty McFly. Last words. No excuses.
Okay. My last word's gonna be about tricking. So tricking in the US historically has been frowned upon because in the US you should be able to pull, you're expected to be able to pull a woman, whether it's game, money, looks, or etc. Right? Fine. So the definition of tricking in a nutshell is when a woman requires you to pay, whether it's requiring you have to pay for sex or requiring you to pay for exclusivity, meaning that when I'm in town, your time is set aside just for me, or guys pay for monogamy. You know what I mean? I don't want you messing with no other dudes but me. So guys trick overseas in those different ways because it's required. You know what I mean? So I use the United States as an example because in the United States, you live there, so you have options not to trick because you live there. When you're traveling to these other countries, for a lot of brothers, they don't live there. They don't have the time to not trick. You know what I mean? And most guys not gonna be able to live in another country or be there for an extended amount of time. So you're in a weekend or week-long trip. So in a nutshell, you have to pay. You're gonna have to pay because of the time restraint. So I just wanted to close with that.
All right, cool. Thanks for coming on. Lionel McTop.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm still I'm going to say I'll say it like this. I don't really have a problem with brothers going overseas, and I don't have a problem with brothers who go overseas for the other reasons too. But still, my whole thing is this: go where you're appreciated, not where you're tolerated. That's what I'm pushing. You know what I mean? Hell, just if you're in a bad situation, if you're in an unsightly condition, take your gifts, take your talents, take your blessings, get the fuck out. It's that simple.
Facts.
Yeah, I get it, man.
Oh yeah.
Game changer. The last words, man.
Yeah, fellas, don't let anybody dictate what your dick takes.
Yeah, simple.
Yeah.
It's like we didn't tell them the women who they got child support by or any of that shit. We didn't tell them anything. We couldn't limit the options of anybody, but somehow our options get limited. Whenever I don't get why that's the case. I just don't, man.
I think it's something that they just not familiar with, bro. I think that the media, the academia, the environment has made them so hateful, and they've internalized such a degree of misandry against black men. They only see us in a one-dimensional kind of way. So that's why when we were on the other panel, something that stood out to me was this whole comparison with white men, right? Because I had watched a movie recently with Tom Cruise, and they called The Last Samurai. You guys probably watched this movie. I thought the whole premise was preposterous of this movie. But when you actually look at that movie, that was a blockbuster movie that they pumped like $150 million into just to sell this image of like this white savior and this ability for this white man to go anywhere on the planet, even the man that his army killed, to take up his wife, to take up his family. And if he decides to dump her and go over to Africa with Shaka Zulu, he could lay up with Shaka Zulu wife. So I think that people ignore how much they've internalized this being the norm for every other group. When a black man has finally said, you know what, Hollywood got it wrong, academia got it wrong, and the matriarch, y'all all got it wrong. I'm free now, I have a voice now, and I have a wallet, and I'm going to use it. So this is just a natural evolution of this ideology spreading, and people will adjust eventually because we've seen it before. They ignore you, they attack you, and then you win and you have your freedom. But with that, thanks for having me on MOT. You'd rather keep the conversation going. I know this is a good cross section for you with the freedom plus the dating coaches as a fraud. So I know you're going to be on this for a minute. Peace out.
Oh, no doubt. All right, thanks for coming through, King Sigma. I want to thank everybody for coming through. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel and like the video before you get up out of here. I'm just saying this. In a society where you have free access to everything, you need to exercise your options. Everybody else is exercising their options. There's no reason for you not to exercise yours. I want you to have the best results possible. And if there's something wrong with the climate or the environment, and if it's too hot for you, then by all means, do not do business there. People who come out here and have conversations on the behalf of women, when women are not present, I find that exceedingly strange. Women don't need you to defend the bags of dicks that they have access to. And you pretending to have or be in those bag of dicks that they holding in their hands is monumentally preposterous. Like, I don't even believe that these people have the access that they say they do. Because if they did, there's no way that they be out here slave catching people to actually come back and compete with them for the same women. It just don't make any damn sense. So with that said, I want to thank you guys for coming through, and we need to promote Blaze's actual moniker, SYSBAH. Stay your black ass here. Thank you so much for listening, and you guys have a really nice rest of your afternoon. Peace.